from the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David SMOAK and Craig SMOAK.
And here we go on this Thursday afternoon. Good afternoon inside your TFNB, your bank for life studios. David SMOAK, Craig SMOAK, the SMOAK Show in 365 Sports. And a lot to get to. Mac Brown today at 5 o'clock, Sam Kahn today at 3:30. And we're also going to look back at quotes a year ago from two conference commissioners after the House settlement and the College Sports Commission were set, just to kind of look back at how much of that has actually come true. Craig, Steve Sarkisian, it was just a couple of weeks ago, and he, of course, was talking about Ole Miss and basket weaving. And now at a Touchdown Club event where a lot of times coaches of various schools, and they have their tour with various schools, do their own tours. But at this event, Steve Sarkisian was asked by a fan at the Touchdown Club of Houston if there is any way to get the College Football Playoff Committee to factor in strength of schedule in their decision-making. And Sark said there's a team in this state that plays in another conference that if he played his 2s and 3s, his team would go unbeaten, undefeated, and they'll make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being along for the ride. What's up, the chat, and everybody else out there. And, I thank Steve Sarkisian for seeing that the waters were starting to settle down a little bit for the offseason, and the playoff talk was finally dying down for a brief moment, and he decided to just go throw some chum in the water. So we're in this line of work very appreciative of that. And just as a college football fan, first and foremost, thanks for some more offseason fodder from just that standpoint. But it's a batch of quotes that has started to make the rounds these last few hours, and has certainly got Texas Tech fans in particular riled up, and it's got Texas fans on I guess the offensive and defensive, because they agree with what Sark said, and they're also defending what he said. And I have seen a few strays here and there that are like, yeah, I don't know about all that. Texas, give their fan base some credit. It's a very large one. They aren't all sheep that just fall in line. So I have seen a couple that have drifted from those quotes and said, yeah, I don't know that Sark is completely correct on that. But for the most part, it's been just fun to see the little eruption this has caused. I saw that on the way over here at a stoplight. I looked down at my phone and saw that Texas Tech's very vocal personnel leader, James Blanchard, was on Twitter and was seemingly talking about this without directly talking about it. So, it's made the rounds. I have a few thoughts on it. I mean, first of all, I can take into account and understand he's talking to his fan base. Like, it's specifically an event where he's talking to the Touchdown Club or whatever version of the kind of same thing. And so you're going to pander a little bit, and you're going to feel like you're in your secret cubbyhole or clubhouse, and you're just talking amongst your people. But you've got to know by now over the years that these things eventually, stuff that's controversial or interesting, it does leak out. But he's talking to Texas fans, so it's not like he was standing at SEC Media Days and saying it. So there is that part of it. And because of that, I don't take it all that seriously. But I do feel like there is some truth behind it, that he's not just saying it to pander to the crowd. And especially when he's been as vocal as he has been this season. I feel like the first thing on my mind is Sark must feel great about his team this year as much as he's talking.
Yep.
Like, as much as he's talking trash about Pete Golding and Ole Miss and their academics, and he's clearly talking about Texas Tech now. I feel like he must feel really great about their team, and he should. I mean, they, from all of the offseason angles you want to look at, are right there at the top of just about any list of, okay, who do you feel the best about on the other side of this, or who had the best offseason, or who had the best transfer portal, who had, like, they've got all that going on. So I think he feels great about his team. But here's the other parts that I feel like, just say Texas Tech's name. don't say there's another team in our state. Like, just say Texas Tech. The only other option would be SMU, and I don't think you're talking about SMU. So just say Texas Tech's name next time is all I ask for you. I think that the SEC in hypothetical scenarios is like 1,142-0 over the years. I haven't counted every time I've seen an SEC coach win another hypothetical game, but I've seen multiple guys go undefeated in hypotheticals for the last several years now. It's amazing. There is no hypothetical scenario presented by an SEC coach that they don't win. It's amazing, like how just dominant and undefeated they are in the hypotheticals. So I know that there's others that pick up on the hypotheticals and all of the wins that the SEC coaches give themselves every year, and it's just kind of a funny recurring bit. The other part of this is, I want you to prove it. I want you to go schedule them. Go schedule Texas Tech. Let's see what's what, man. Let's not hypothetical this thing. Go put Tech on the schedule and go beat them, and then have actual real bragging rights versus another hypothetical victory. I know there's this kind of transition period where they're in the SEC now and they're kind of wanting to leave the Big 12 behind. But if you're going to throw another grenade back over the fence, then let's knock the fence down, and why don't we schedule a home and home? Like, what's the harm in that? Now, I know they've got the whole, well, now we play 9 conference games, so there's less room. But I'm all about, if you're going to talk the talk, then walk the walk. And so I would love to see those two tangle in the playoff. And if not, we can't get to that point, then yeah, let's schedule and let rubber meet the road here.
Well, last time they played, Texas beat the living hell out of Tech 57-7. And it also was in response, and Joey McGuire, after the win against Texas in overtime, remember, said everything comes through Lubbock. And that's a coach in the post-game emotions. And he was excited. It was like early on with him in his career. Texas owns that rivalry like they own basically any rivalry that's been played more than 10 or 20 times. But in this case, I agree with you on two things. Say their name.
Yeah,
I like Sark a bunch. I really do. This is good for us, of course, with content, but I like the fact that he's saying what he's saying. I don't completely agree with him, but it's like it's not is insulting if you're a Tech fan. All right. That's fine. It's arrogant if you're a Texas fan, right? Or that's the way you feel. But say the name and then get on the phone, Del Conte and also Kirby Hocutt, schedule a game. Or when the college football playoff arrives and they put together the 12 teams, get them close together if Tech can score and get past the first round, and if Texas gets to the college football playoff again.
Yeah, I think that there is that last game, and Texas did defiantly win that, and that was 2 years ago. And now things are a little bit different, and as badly as they beat them and as much as they moved on, he's still talking about Texas Tech and referencing them. And it's not unprompted, because it's about the strength of schedule. That was what got him talking about this, but nobody said anything specifically about a team from Texas. They asked him about strength of schedule, as best as I could tell. So it was he who chose to bring them into it. So as much as you've moved on, you're still taking your little shots. So if you're going to take your shots, then I hope they meet in the playoff. You know what?
Texas Tech is getting under the skin of people, just like Ole Miss was, and Tech is winning recruiting battles.
I think that's undeniable. I think that's at least part of what's in his head. I think that the Ole Miss thing, that wasn't just, I'm going to randomly take a shot at their academics. I think some of that was also some recruiting losses. I think that was just the fact that, hey, Ole Miss is a vulnerable, wounded animal right now. Let's take a shot at them. I think there were some elements of that. And I think that, there's also an element of you would probably have, and maybe not you, but A&M, but in some of these cases, you would have gotten LaDamian Guyton, and instead he's going to Texas Tech. Or you would have gotten Felix Ojo, and instead he's going to Texas Tech. Or you know what I'm saying? You would have gotten these guys, and instead now they're going to Texas Tech. And I don't think there's any chance that that's not at least a part of sort of his frame of reference when he's talking about Texas Tech and deciding to take a shot at them. But most of all, from all that is like, let's see them play. And the last time they met, but you also referenced Joey also beat them too before that. I'd love to see them meet up in the playoff and see what's what. And I would love to see Sark just say the name next time, even though we can whittle down to who he's talking about. Just would be a bit more solid of a thing to say if you just say Texas Tech directly. And then on the last point that I'll make about it, and look, I love it. Like I'm not one of those who's like, I can't believe he said that, or no, like I love that he said it. I just wish he would have named names. But I think it's great, and not just for the purposes of this show, but just I want coaches to not be pro wrestlers. I don't want them to be like UFC fighters who are just doing a copy of Conor McGregor, and it's just kind of like it's not real or all that entertaining at this point. But I want coaches to be themselves and say what's on their minds and get things off their chest. And so I love that he said what he said. But the last thing that I have on it is no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have taken your threes and gone undefeated in the Big 12. No, you wouldn't have. I mean, I guess there's a what if that we'll never know, and a scenario that you can always claim you would have, and I can always claim that no, you wouldn't have. I think there's a chance that they could have taken their twos, maybe, and won the Big 12, gone undefeated, perhaps.
Which year?
Like last year, maybe they could have done that. Maybe. They could have done that. Their threes, spare me, dude. I don't buy that for 1 second that Texas would have taken their third stringers and gone and ran undefeated through the Big 12. I don't believe that. I know how they left, and they left with the trophy in hand and left no doubt about who the best team was when they left. But that doesn't mean that you're just perennially undefeated from here on out. And so I think you would have probably lost to Texas Tech starters if you were playing your third stringers at Texas. This is not, as Kirby Smart pointed out earlier this year and just a few weeks ago, they don't have the depth at Georgia that they used to have. They don't have third stringers that are all going in the NFL draft. And I know Texas has a really stout, solid team, but I'm just not buying that Matthew Caldwell is like running through the Big 12 last year, or that Diabell is just going to be automatically awesome as young as he is and just go run through the Big 12. I think they would win a majority of their games. I think they would have been probably above 500. I don't think that they would have gone undefeated. Their twos, I'd have to actually look at that, but I don't believe for a second their threes are going undefeated.
That is absolutely insulting.
Of course it is.
Here's the thing. Texas Tech is a really good football team, and they're putting themselves in a position where they're trying to get to a level, experience their first ever conference title. We know their history is not like loaded with banners and trophies and all that. Neither was Indiana's. But Texas, up until the last year in the SEC or in the Big 12 when they went 8-1, their record for 14 years in the Big 12 prior to that. Now, the teams that Sark's had the last 2 or 3 years are really good. I get that. 64-56. And as many losing or 5-5-4 records as any of the others. Now, Mac, of course, had the great run up through 2009, and he's going to join us today at 5 o'clock. But the part about using your twos, et cetera, that is insulting. If you'd like to see it, schedule the game and you play your twos and they'll play their starters. And again, Texas is not who they were during that 14-year stretch, but there was a lot of times when they had a lot of talent, a lot of pride, all that stuff, but they just were a malaise. They were just hanging around.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that has much bearing on now necessarily, other than, if you want to point out that you weren't exactly just crushing things all the time every year as is, but that's the way that some may act like how it actually went. It's like, you went out on a high note, but that's not what it was in the years prior to that.
It's almost like if Texas and OU both weren't good each year, then the Big 12 was down.
Well, that was always the narrative.
That was always a narrative, and like, lazy as hell.
TCU's awesome, but let's just pretend like it's a bad year because it's not one of these two teams. And that happened constantly, and the media was complicit in that. And the media picked up that narrative and ran with it as much as anybody else. But I'm now looking, now that I've had time to look at this, and no, their twos wouldn't have gone undefeated either. I feel pretty confident saying that. They would not have gone undefeated in the Big 12 last year. Again, teams just don't have depth like that anymore. Maybe 05 Texas would have done that with their twos and threes because they had a lot of NFL talent, but I'm sorry, I'm just not buying that. And I know, again, it's not like he sat and compared rosters and came up to that conclusion. He's talking to a group that is all pro Texas and is there to give him money to be even better and to listen to him talk about how great everything is. So that's the audience he's talking to, and that's why I'm not taking what he said too seriously. But as far as what he did say, if you're going to say it, well, I'm going to comment on it. And no, I'm not buying for 1 second the 2s and 3s would go undefeated thing. But yeah, I hope they meet up in the playoff and we can see what's what. And I hope for his sake they're as good as he clearly thinks they're going to be, because he's talking a lot of shit this offseason. And, you know, eventually you're going to have to back it up. But they have a pretty good team on paper, so it's going to be fun to watch.
I'd like to go to the chat room for a couple of comments. Brian Pearson, talking season is officially here.
Oh,
yeah, it
man.
has been. Kiffin's always in talking season, but this is in the last couple of weeks has been kind of fun. Hope it lasts for another at least 8 or 9 weeks. It gets us into early August, or at least up until the conference media days. One other note, and this is, I understand, Stevie, what you're trying to say, but it really is not really relevant to the Tech and Texas part. Mississippi State beat Arizona State. Baylor lost to a bad Auburn team. Those were two of the worst teams in the SEC. Mississippi State should have beaten Texas. Now, you're going to go down the list of team by team by team, but what does that have to do with what Sark is saying about Texas Tech?
I mean, Baylor losing to Auburn has absolutely no bearing on anything, because he's not talking about Baylor, and we're not saying that Baylor would beat Texas or whatever. Now, if you're saying like, oh, well, they lost to those teams and Texas would then play those teams, and so they would beat Baylor and they would beat Arizona State. Well, I would sure as hell hope, given the disparities at this stage in 2025 and 26, that Texas would beat Baylor at this point. Like, if not, then my God, Sark needs to be fired. Arizona State, I mean, if we just want to like kind of pick and choose here, that was a pretty close game a couple years ago, was it not? I mean, I don't think that was just some runaway Texas victory that was just
against who?
Against Arizona State.
No, it was a bad. It was a fourth down touchdown pass.
Super convincing victory where you're like, oh God, we clearly know who the best team is here. No. So yeah, I don't think that the transitive works. I understand what you're trying to say, and I'm not saying that Texas. Like I spoke a moment ago that, yeah, they'd win a majority of their games. They'd definitely be above 500. I just don't think that they're going to beat everybody with their 2s. I don't think Matthew Caldwell is just going to go beat Tech and go beat ASU and go beat Utah and go beat BYU and any combination of those guys. I just don't buy that. If you would have said that 10 years ago when depth actually was still a thing as much as it could be, then that's a different story. But yeah, I don't buy that argument from him. But again, I'm also here giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying I know who he was talking to and what he's trying to get across. So he's taking a shot at a rival, and everybody else is having fun with it, because that's what we do
it's
when
great.
stuff like this gets leaked out.
It's great, and you guys are in here, guys and girls are in there making your comments. We appreciate it, but bringing up Baylor, Auburn, Mississippi State, ASU is really kind of irrelevant.
Well, I think it's the point is that like the lower teams in the SEC could beat like the some of the teams in the Big 12. But again, Baylor's a bad example because they're not a good team, and they haven't been for about 3 years now. So okay, Arizona State. Yeah, Mississippi State got them. You know, Mississippi State also almost got last year Texas.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that was one of the great comebacks ever what UT did. It was a remarkable comeback, but they needed everything they had to beat Mississippi State.
So all we can hope for at this point is that there's a playoff scenario where Texas and Texas Tech get pitted against one another, and then we have a nice little storyline already built in historically, but now we have another little chapter we could add to that and really spruce up that game even further. But yeah, I do think there is some element of just kind of the way recruiting's going these days, and it's just in general everybody's on pins and needles about everything and just kind of uptight. And it's also talking season, as somebody pointed out. So you're going to have these touchdown club dinners, and pretty soon Dabo is going to say something that somebody takes and puts on Twitter, and Kirby Smart will say something. And this is how it goes. And it's part that I enjoy. So again, as I said at the top of the show, thank you, Sark, for throwing some chum in the water, and we're all reacting to it. But yeah, I don't agree on the 2s and 3s thing.
Yeah. And again, that who knows? Would they go unbeaten with their 2s and 3s? I don't think so. I know they're really good and very deep with a lot of talent, but I don't think so. Would they go 9-3, 10-2? Probably they had that chance, but I think you really that right there probably could have been said without being said. He could have said something without using the 2s and 3s.
I think a better way to say it would be that if Texas Tech was in the SEC, there's no chance they would go undefeated, or something like. If you weren't trying to really take a shot at the Big 12 necessarily, then you could have framed it that way. Like, there's a team in our state that if they had to play our schedule, there's no chance they go undefeated like they did last year. or have an easy path to being undefeated as they did last year. And so he kind of was saying that, but he was saying it from the other side of it, to where it's a shot at the entire league, and therefore all of the teams in it. And so, that's why everybody's reacting the way that they are on that side of the fence. But no harm, no foul, just some fun stuff to talk about. And we'll see if, in fact, they do meet up down the road.
Keep what you want to keep saying in the chat room. We'll try to not pick and choose, but pick some of those to read as the show goes on. Meanwhile, look at this graphic. We are 100 days away from the start of the 2026 college football season. I want to get one of those calendars that flips or tears off or something and have 100 and go down to 1, because that would be pretty cool. Every morning, wake up, or every night before we go to bed, just, okay, we're down to 87. 100 days until they kick off it at some point in August.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I don't really want that calendar because I don't want to like Christmas when you have the little paper mache rings that you tear every morning, or like an advent calendar kind of a thing, is I guess what you're describing, to count down. I don't really want to do that, because I am trying to, as much as I do love talking college football every day, and especially on days where Sark says something that gets people riled up, or there's really interesting stuff going on. There's also part of me that's like, all right, just slow down a little bit. But I think we've had a pretty fun offseason so far. I'm looking forward to what the next couple months hold. But, yeah, it's going to be here before you know it, and we're going to be right in the thick of it. And I'm looking forward to every moment. I just want to be able to squeeze in like a summer vacation first before we get like fully into it, like all of us want to. But, yeah, I'm already very excited about all of the storylines that have developed this offseason. I mean, Lane Kiffin and LSU, which we're about to get to another wrinkle that they've added, and then Texas and the big expectations there, and Texas Tech and this Sorsby, and whether or not they have him, they still have giant expectations, and Kyle Whittingham at Michigan, and just there's so much fun stuff that's happened this offseason that's super interesting. And so, yeah, we got a little bit of a wait, but looking forward to it.
Here's a nugget. Sam Kahn just sent me a text. He was at the Touchdown Club today in Houston, and he was in the room. And so we'll be able to get his take on it here in about 10 minutes or so. So let's get to the other story that came down yesterday evening. A couple of 3 or 4 angles to this. LSU announcing that former head coach Ed Orgeron has been hired by Lane Kiffin. He is back. I think his contract's like for $100,000 for the full year, like up until, I guess, January of 27. Ed Orgeron, who's been kind of going around to various campuses and looking around and has been enjoying himself. And now he will be on the LSU coaching staff effective immediately, and with Lane Kiffin. This right here would be a great reality show.
Yeah, it would certainly be fit for a reality show, all these different personalities. I think there's a lot of parts to unpack here to Ed Orgeron returning to LSU, given how he exited, given how his last few years there went, both successfully and also controversially. There's just a lot here, and I don't know how much this was brewing and bubbling up on LSU message boards, or how much anticipation there was that something like this could happen, or if it was a move that Kiffin pulled that was seemingly out of nowhere. But I think if you look at it from just the what he can do as far as consultation, being a figurehead, being a face to do the shaking hands, kissing babies, rev up the troops, get donors even more amped up, to also give some of his football knowledge along the way as well, to just be kind of a mascot, to do any number of different things, but most of all, be a part of their recruiting when you've already got the ability to go out and pay. And we know there's seemingly there's no limit to the funds in Baton Rouge, especially when it comes to what you need to win football games. I think the ability to have him in an NIL era where he doesn't have the responsibilities of a head coach but can be a recruiter for you, I think it's an excellent hire from that standpoint. And Kiffin and him have history, so it's not like this is completely out of the blue. So, yeah, I think from like a cheerleader, fundraising, recruiting, consultation, all those types of gigs, it sounds like a great gig for him, because he gets to be a part of it and be on staff, but not have to worry about the responsibilities of being a head coach or even a coordinator for that matter. And then for Kiffin, he gets all of the best parts of Ed Orgeron, all of his strengths, and he's still the head coach, and he reaps the benefits of that. So I think from that standpoint, it's an absolute home run hire that absolutely juices the LSU fan base. I think you have to go and look back at how it ended with him a few years ago and how messy that got between basically a player revolt because of differences over how he was handling the whole Black Lives Matter and that situation at the time around the country. He did not handle that well. The protests and just the feeling of his players, which you look at the LSU roster, like most college rosters, it's majority, it's these young black kids, right? So there was a disconnect there that really went sideways for him. And there was also the Darius Geis situation. Ultimately he wasn't like directly responsible for that, but he did kind of the an element of the Art Briles thing of like not doing his full responsibility of following up and following through and all those types of things. And so there were some things there at the end. There was also just him butting heads eventually with leadership and him having outbursts in the locker room. Like, if they're going to fire me, fire me. Like, that was going on there towards the end, and they eventually did fire him. And so he left as like a Louisiana icon still, but he definitely was not wanted anymore. And he had like just a lot of marks that had added up. So now time has passed, time heals all wounds, and he's not going to be the forward facing guy anymore. But there was the last time he was around Baton Rouge, and it got pretty ugly. So they're getting back together. He
is absolutely, as you said, legendary in the state of Louisiana around Baton Rouge and LSU football. So here's a note from Ross Dellinger. LSU has now hired back at least 3 coaches that the school previously had fired in the last decade. Ed Orgeron, Johnny Jones, was a former basketball coach. Now he's back on the staff with Will Wade, who was fired, who's now back as their head basketball coach. One other note about this is from Chris Vanini. A trend in college football, hiring former head coaches as assistants continues with Brent Pry at Vautech, Zach Arnett at Mississippi State, Ed Orgeron now at LSU, and Bobby Petrino, Arkansas, until this past off season.
Yeah, well, hopefully for LSU's sake, it goes better than Bobby Petrino at Arkansas for one. But yeah, it's again, I think in the role that it seems that they're going to have him in, ideal for what his strengths are. He can do as much football as I guess he wants as far as chiming in and probably helping in certain areas, but he's not responsible necessarily for putting, or not necessarily, he's not responsible for putting game plans together or doing that. He's going to be a rah-rah guy. He's going to be a fundraising guy. He's going to be a media guy. He's going to be all of the best parts of Ed Orgeron that you can put out there. And I think it'll benefit them greatly in recruiting, especially when you've got not only a guy like Kiffin and others on his staff, but then just the checkbook that you bring. And then now you add Ed Orgeron to that. And yeah, they're going to have some really filthy recruiting classes in the best kind of way. And they already have pretty good ones, but I just think this is like another layer on top of what was already pretty damn good. And now you're like, oh boy, like they're not playing around. If they don't win a national championship with the setup that they have financially, coaching wise, all of that, then that will be either because of some catastrophe of some sorts, not wishing that, but it would have to take that, or Lane Kiffin's just the messiest man we know. And this is like the final chapter of like, this guy's just never going to get right because he's got it all at his fingertips right now. So yeah, I think the hire is really smart. I think it's a really good one. And I'm sure it feels great for Ed Orgeron to be able to kind of patch up or heal some of those wounds from his exit, because it was an ugly exit. There was a lot of just strife and all that going on at that time. So he did bring them a national championship, their last national championship, that incredible team with Burrow and company. So we'll see if they can't bring back some of that magic. But I do think just on the surface and for what you expect, it's an incredible hire and one that definitely gets the LSU fan base just even more ready for a season they were already frothing at the mouth for.
So we will have some a year ago today news, quotes from Brett Yormark and Greg Sankey about when the House Settlement and the College Sports Commission was formed. Craig, anything else on this? And then we take a break because Sam Kahn was there at the Touchdown Club in Houston and can't wait to get his feedback on it.
No, I just think it was really interesting to kind of get that blast from the past. Was not expecting that. Like I said, I don't know if that was something swirling on the LSU boards or not, but I it was a complete surprise to me at least. And I was like, oh, wow, that's that's fun and interesting. And so just, again, even more reason to be amped up about LSU. And if you're not amped up about them, then you are just, getting that much more curious about what this all is going to look like this year. Can't wait to see it, for better or worse. Texas, thank you again for throwing a little rivalry shot out there at Tech. And I think the more we can get some of that the rest of this offseason, the more fun it'll be, because it's a fun day of topics, and can't wait to hear what Sam has to say. But this is fun college football stuff.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say, because he was in the room, and we'll come back with that. Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, here in just a moment. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. And Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Want to be means that you're not quite that way anymore. Used to be means that you were, but it's now faded or gone. Your sex drive, your energy, your sleep habits, even things that used to be you just woke up and full throttle. Father Time will take care of some of that, and sometimes it's the low T. Your testosterone level will drop. And if that's you, and maybe it is, how do you know? Are you sure? Maybe you've had your T levels checked. But if not, contact Petty Clinic, lowt.com, and they will set you up to get an appointment. They will set you up to have your blood drawn. They get the results, take care of the appointment, then get back in touch with you and will say, you're fine. Maybe it's something else. Or your T levels, testosterone, is lower than it should be. It's maybe 100 or 200 or 300 points lower. Who knows? But you won't know if you don't get your blood or your T level checked. No different with men with prostate cancer. You need to get that done probably once you start getting into your mid to late 30s, early 40s, and then check on that. And always make sure that it's staying below that magical line that you don't want to see at 4.0, and sometimes it does. Go get your check. Go get your testosterone level checked. And Dr. Petty, if it is too low, can put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be at pettyclinic.lowt.com.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
At Allen Samuels Jeep in Waco, get a 2026 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $32,990. Or take $10,000 off a 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Extreme Texas weather calls for Ray Broker, your Lennox Premier dealer. Sign up for our year-round comfort plan and keep your home the perfect temperature no matter what the forecast is. Call or visit raybroker.com now. Ray Broker, your air conditioning and heating specialist.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
And here we are with a perfect day to have Sam Kahn, which could be every single day, from theathletic.com. Sam, good afternoon. Welcome to a perfect baton handoff to you in a 4x100. You were there. What was the reaction? Give us your thoughts.
First of all, you guys, thanks for having me as always. You guys, I think, covered at the top. This is the, I like to call the rubber chicken tour, where they go to the different cities across the state, and coaches talk to the alumni and the fans, and you kind of get everybody fired up. Everybody has their meal, and everybody gets excited about the season. And this is a time when you drop some of the one-liners and some of the spicy comments that you'll hear come out at this time of year. There's not a lot to do because coaches are on the road recruiting. The assistant coaches and the players are been kind of let go home for the end of spring semester and before they come back for the summer. But Sark was there, the Touchdown Club. He went with us for about 15, 20 minutes before he talked to the crowd. But when he talked to the crowd, a fan asked him whether the college football playoff selection committee would take strength of schedule more into account when making the playoff selections. And he was like, man, you're singing my tune, because he rattled off the things that Texas did against its schedule last year. And then he said, I'll read you the full quote here. He said, I'm going to say this, and some people who really understand what I'm saying and some who don't, but I'm not going to get myself in trouble. There's a team in our state that plays in another conference that has a schedule that I'll argue, if I play with our 2s or 3s, we could go undefeated, and they'll probably make the CFP. So that's a problem. The scheduling strength is a problem. So the question I had, and the question everybody has, is who was he referring to? I think a lot of speculation has gone to maybe he's referring to Texas Tech. Could he have been referring to SMU in the ACC? Could he ever been referring to a group of 5 team? Because there was a lot of consternation about 2 G5 teams, or I guess G6 now, getting in the playoff last year. And could UTSA be the team? I don't know that he's out here taking shots at Jeff Traylor. I think a lot of people assume it was against Texas Tech, but he did leave that little bit of plausible deniability there by not exactly stating explicitly what team it was.
Yeah, I think SMU, had they made the playoff last year, would have made more sense. So like a couple years removed. And I also don't think that we necessarily believe that SMU is just going to go undefeated in the ACC, right? So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was talking about Tech, Sam. I'm pretty sure he was talking about Tech. And, you know, he prefaced it by saying, I know if you know what I'm talking about, you'll understand. And I understand the point that he's trying to make. I wish he would have just said Texas Tech's name, though, if you're going to go and just say it. But I also don't agree with him. I don't think their 2s and 3s would go undefeated in the Big 12. Not these days when depth is as different as it is.
No, I don't either. I think saying that you could go undefeated against schedule is one thing. I think saying your 2s and 3s is a little bit of a stretch, especially knowing what we saw the last time Texas was in the Big 12. Texas did win the Big 12 its last year there. But let's not forget, they had to fight to beat Kansas State. And again, this was with a team led by, I guess, K-State. They had Malik Murphy, but they had Quinn Ewers running that team that season. They had to stretch to beat Houston. That game came down to the wire in that season. So it wasn't like they just waltzed through the conference. And we know their history before 2023, their last year in the Big 12, that they hadn't won the league in quite some time. So I think that's a little bit overstating it. But at the same time, this is the time of year we're in, and guys are going to get their shots off, and I think that's okay. I'm all for it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm sure, guess what? Joey McGuire is scheduled to be at the Houston Touchdown Club in about 2 weeks. So I'm pretty sure he's going to have a response to his alumni base and his fan base when he takes the mic down here in Houston in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm all for it. I don't look at Sark any differently or anything like that after he said it. It's like, yeah, I don't agree with you what you happen to say, and I wish you would just name names if you're going to do that. But yeah, Joey's going to either just flat out say Texas, or he's going to be like wink, wink, nod, nod. not. And yeah, I'm sure he's going to have.
Joey's had no problem ever saying anything that he thinks.
Exactly.
We know that.
Exactly. So I would expect just something funny in a couple of weeks for sure. I did make me think this though about Texas with all the chirping he's doing. I know some of it's just a coach who sees things that he doesn't like and he wants things to be different, but it also just screams to me that he's got to be ultra confident in this team to be kind of talking the way that he is this offseason. I know we all expect great things for them, but it just reinforces that for me. I don't think he'd be necessarily chirping as much if he didn't think Texas was going to be pretty damn good this year.
I mean, how could you not be? I mean, when you look at the roster, and I don't know if they're going to go into the season as the AP number one team like they did last year. And I know some people are going to say, well, you made them the AP number one team last year, and look what happened. The circumstances are quite different. They were given the number one ranking last year, I think, a lot on the hype of Arch. But when you looked at the bones of the roster and what they had lost from the year before, you can kind of see some potential cracks in the armor that made it understandable as to why they struggled in some of the ways that they did last year. This year's a different story. They got, first of all, Arch is going to be a lot better than he was a year ago, in my opinion. They got Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown in the backfield. They added, who in my opinion was the best player in the portal, in Cam Coleman, who I think if Jeremiah Smith wasn't in this draft, Cam Coleman would be the number one receiver taken in the 2027 draft. They added Melvin Siani at right tackle with Trevor Goosby coming back at left tackle. They added Rasheem Biles, an all ACC linebacker at the middle, and that guy, if you ever turn on the tape, can run and can hit. He is a tremendous athlete. So all that to say is that the level of talent in just the starting 22 has really been dramatically raised. And, you know, I don't know if they're number one or not, but to me, they're absolutely no doubt top three team in the country. And they are a team that if they don't make the semifinals, I think it'd be a disappointment, in my opinion, when you consider how much roster talent is there. It's an all-in year for Texas without question.
Yeah. If for example, home against Ohio State, I mean, they're really good, although they've lost a lot. But, you know, again, everyone loses a lot these days. They get off to a rocky start, and anything like last year when they lost to Florida too, it's going to be a long year because UT fans are not going to put up with that, no matter what conference they're in right now. But, yeah, they're set up for a lot of success. All right, Lane Kiffin and Ed Orgeron. Sam, if theathletic.com does not immediately get in touch with LSU about a day-by-day whatever diary, then we're missing out.
Oh, brother, if you think they're giving access to that, then you're out of your mind. They're the only people LSU will be giving access to for a day-by-day chronicle is anybody who, probably SEC Network, anybody who's going to do some very positive spin of it. It's someone, I can't remember who told me this, but somebody told me this offseason that it's like LSU conducted its entire offseason with its middle finger extended to everybody else.
So true.
Okay. And I can't think of a better description, but it's entertaining. And I'll give them this, regardless of what you want to say about what they're doing, buddy, they've put their money where their mouth is with that program. Like, they have done the work from a roster standpoint. I love what they added in terms of impact players across the board. From Jordan Seaton to Prince Umanmielen, to Ty Benefield to Sam Levitt, the quarterback, of course. There's so many guys that they added, but then I think the staff is going to be really good. I understand why people are going to kind of raise and cock their eyebrow to bringing back Ed Orgeron, but if you know Lane Kiffin, to me, this was inevitable. If Ed wasn't going to be working somewhere else, if he wasn't going to be the head coach or the defensive coordinator at another program, then of course he's going to go back with Lane. I mean, those two guys have gone back for a long, long time and have been together for a long, long time. And they have a really good relationship. And yes, what happened with Ed and some of the things that he did that have been publicized, some of which my organization has published, are not very favorable. But if you had any inkling or any thought that LSU was going to not pull out all the possible stops they could to win, you're out of your mind. Like, LSU is going to do absolutely everything they can do to win, regardless of what anybody thinks or what anybody says. And I I understand why people are upset about it, but I also understand why Lane is doing what he's doing. Like Lane's trying to put together a squad, and I think having Ed Orgeron in terms of from a football standpoint, having him on the staff, I think he's a value add.
Yeah, I think there is no university that embodies more of like win at all costs, or will like there's nobody that wants to win more than LSU. Like I just feel like that's something you can say confidently, and they're willing to back it up and do whatever it takes to be that school, and they certainly are proving that this offseason to the point of what you're saying. And Sam, diving a little further into Orgeron, I mean, it's not like he's calling plays. He's not getting caught up in the head coaching responsibilities, which is what got him in trouble, at least in some part, at the end of his tenure at LSU, was not doing the best job with that. He basically can just be an ambassador. He can be a crutch to lean on. He can be an advisor, and he can be a damn recruiter. And like all of the best parts of him you get, and you don't have anything other than that to really worry about. I think from that standpoint, it's an absolute grand slam because he's so beloved no matter how he exited. That I bet there's just a part. I mean, there's a party in Louisiana every day, but I bet LSU fans are just over the moon about this idea.
Yeah, here's the thing, and I talked to someone this offseason after the Brian Kelly firing happened, someone who had worked there for a while and kind of knows that place, that spoke to the differences between Kelly and Orgeron, and when you went from the Ed Orgeron era to the Brian Kelly era, and Ed is someone who really relates to the people there, who relates to South Louisiana. He relates to guys who are from the boot, who are born and bred, and who are from the parishes and know that state in and out. Like, it's a culture thing. And when, the way it was put to me is like when he would host those meetings with recruits and their families, and he would talk to them, he could tell them stories about where he grew up and where he went and why he wanted to be part of LSU so badly, and the memories that he had of going there and watching LSU Tiger football. And it connected to those people on a certain level because that's all what they want to do. They want to be a part of that too. Brian Kelly was such a misfit in terms of culture there because he was not from there. And I'm not saying that you have to be from a place in college football to succeed, but I think college football is a unique beast in that it does matter to some degree that you relate to the people there, that you relate to the fan base, the constituency, that you understand where not just the fans, but the players you're recruiting, where they come from. In that state, in Louisiana, LSU has the advantage of being the only power conference school in that state, which has a ton of talent that it pumps out to the colleges and eventually the NFL. And I think Kelly squandered that to some degree, not in terms of recruiting results. I think the recruiting results are fine, but you hear he just doesn't relate to Louisianans the way that Ed Orgeron did. And I think having him as what you said, Craig, an ambassador is a perfect role for Ed. That's Ed as I think he's going to die purple and gold, bleeding purple and gold. That's the way it is. He is a Bayou boy. And I think that I think from that standpoint, it makes a ton of sense to bring him on. And I think that's why I say, I think he's a value add. I think he knows the ins and outs of recruiting that place. And regardless of how much has changed in NIL and agents and player compensation and all that, it still matters to have relationships. You still have to know people to recruit them. This is still recruiting. You still have to convince people to come, whether you offer the most or not. You still have to convince people to come to your school, and Ed is a guy who can help do that.
Who else in what other program, and I don't know if it's on, we could get to all fingers on one hand, has anything like this scenario that could happen? A former head coach.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
A former head coach, that kind of personality, won a national championship, and at times was careless. And he's back, but he's like a rock star. How many other programs are like that?
I think you just limited it by saying who has that kind of personality. There's hardly anybody.
No, yeah, there's only one Ed Orgeron. Yeah,
I mean, he's so unique. But I get where you're going for there. I don't know too many examples of guys off the top of my head. I don't know if you can think of anybody, Sam.
No, that has that kind of personality. No, yeah. I mean, we obviously saw, and it didn't work out super well, Bobby Petrino go back to Arkansas, which a lot of people were clamoring for, but he doesn't have the charisma and the magnetic personality that Ed did. And Mac Brown obviously not working for not coaching at Texas at this point. But I think if Mac were to ever go back to Texas in some degree, I think he would be that beloved because he had a connection with the state, with the state's high school coaches, with the people. Like Mac had a way of making you feel special. Like, and he has a gift in terms of relating to people and talking to people. And he's someone who will forever be beloved at Texas. Again, he's not coaching there, but if he were ever to go back there in some capacity, not as a head coach, but maybe in a role similar to what Ed's doing, people at Texas would be over the moon. That's the only one that I could find that I think would be analogous to it. But he does not have the issues in his past that Ed Orgeron does, to be completely fair to Mac. Like Mac doesn't have that type of stuff in his background. So
yeah, there wouldn't be.
But that's the only comparison I could think of.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any like even moment of like controversy with Mac where you'd have to go, yeah, there was that one thing that like you kind of have to do with Ed Orgeron, but that was also something that they dealt with at that time, and I guess enough time has gone by, but it is a very interesting move. And yeah, we're actually talking to Mac Brown a little bit later on today, Sam. So it's actually good timing, and I totally agree with you on him. He'd be a great example. Like if Bob Stoops wanted to come back to Oklahoma,
remember he had to come back that one time,
did.
right?
Yeah. I mean,
that's right. Did he do a bowl game? Was it?
He came back and coached. So so
that's a perfect one too. Bob Stoops is beloved at OU.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Anything else?
Well, I mean, all right. So we do Kiffin and Orgeron. We've mentioned Sark, and to have Mac on today is going to be special.
I've got one.
All right. I did have one more, but go ahead.
Okay. Do you have any doubts in your mind other than the doubt that everybody has that Brendan Sorsby never plays college football again? Like, is there a part of you other than just like, well, there's always a chance? Because I think we all have that. Like, well, there's always a chance he gets to play again, but outside of that little percentage, is there any part of you, based on everything that you've heard, read, and know, that you feel like this is going to go the way of him playing football again?
I can't see it. I can't, especially after seeing the NCAA statement come out the other day.
Yep.
In response to the lawsuit that was filed. Excuse me. I just can't see it because I've heard the idea floated that maybe he's suspended for half the season and then plays the last 6 games. I just don't see any way that the NCAA takes anything but a zero tolerance policy to this, because, and the reason I say that, it's not to single out Brendan Sorsby, and it's not to dismiss the claims that were made in that lawsuit, because I do understand, like, again, when they talked about what Brendan Sorsby was betting on, like Turkish basketball league and some, I can't remember what the other things were, but it was stuff that it was like, oh yeah, this guy really had an addiction. I'm empathetic to that, and I understand the argument that they're trying to make, that's saying that, oh, well, taking this eligibility away doesn't really help his mental health. I think that's fair, but I also understand from the NCAA standpoint that if you crack the door open on this rule even a little bit, you really have a chance of calling into question the integrity of everything. Because if you cannot stand firm on this, then every other athlete who's ever bet on any of their sports at their school or their team, they're going to have an argument to say, well, you let him play, why can't I play?
Yeah.
And I do think that one of the things that has, I think, been pretty consistent in sports, whether it's professional sports or college sports, historically, is you can't bet on your own team or your own games that you're involved in. That's an integrity issue. It's a no-no. I understand it's part of a larger issue for Brendan, and I'm super empathetic to that. But it just, you can't make the two work, in my opinion. So I don't think, unless a court compels them to do it, I guess that's the only way it happens, is if a court decision ends up being made that's saying that, yeah, they have to restore his eligibility. I can't see it happening. I just don't think there's any way, any chance that he plays college football this fall.
Yeah, and anything, if fans start to feel like, and I know there's always the conspiracy theory, but if fans start to feel like something's not up and up, you are as popular now as you've ever been before. It doesn't take much or a massive scandal if it starts to leak out that maybe that's not the case, and that could affect the game too.
I mean, think about the Tim Donaghy situation in the NBA.
Yeah.
How was like 15, almost 20 years ago, and people, when you watch NBA playoff games, I don't think this way, but fans, when calls go certain ways, they're like, oh, is the official Did he bet on this game or whatever? Like it's a serious issue. Like it's something that people still talk about. If I say the name Tim Donaghy, people who follow the NBA know who the heck that is. And there's been integrity questions or people questioning the integrity of the NBA going back to the mid 80s and the 85 lottery and why the New York Knicks won it and things like that. So that's the thing, is you can't allow any doubt to creep in about the integrity of your product from the viewing public. It's a lose-lose situation.
Okay, if you don't mind, close it out with this. Jamie Pollard, Iowa State, had a couple of days ago, they had kind of their tour. He came back the next day and kind of reiterated some of what he was saying about let him go as far as the conferences, SEC, Big Ten, Notre Dame, whatever. I liked that he said it. Again, just like Sark said exactly how he felt. We just wish he would have been a little bit more clarified. But Jamie is one who wears his emotions on his sleeves. Your thought about what he said, and a couple of days later, of course, now with the news cycle, it's disappeared.
Yeah, I applaud Jamie. I really like when he talks because, like you said, he's very candid. He says how he feels, and you understand where he's coming from because he's coming from a place in an athletic department that is not flush with the funds that some of these other schools that we're talking about, the LSUs and the Texases and the Ohio States. Iowa State, just to make the cap, to make the full cap, it's a stretch for them. It's difficult. And I understand the frustration, and I don't think he's the only one that feels this way in terms of the fact of, okay, we set all these rules and then people are trying to break them. And I empathize with that because why did we form the College Sports Commission? Why did you go through all this if everybody's just going to try to game the system? And even Sark was talking about that today with us, is that, hey, we have to figure out how to govern ourselves and get everybody to follow the rules. And that's the biggest problem, is that the moment you set a rule is that someone tries to get around it. And I think that's the history of college sports and the NCAA. That's why they had to, or I guess they didn't have to, but this is one of the reasons why they say they made the rule about bagels and cream cheese or whatever it is, which was nonsensical. But you had to make a rule for every loophole that people tried to find. But the breakaway part of him talking about, hey, if they want to go, let them go. I understand where he's coming from. And part of me agrees with him. Part of me says, yeah, if they want to go do that, let them go do that. But the other part of me is like, no, I like all these schools playing and competing together. I like seeing, I would love to see Iowa State go up against a SEC or Big Ten team in the playoff. Could you imagine Cyhawk in the playoff? That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to break away. I never want to see that because to me, it'll fracture the sport beyond repair. And I think we will have lost something that is special. And I think that's why we need something to happen to keep this all together. I understand why the SEC and the Big Ten may want to govern themselves and break away and not be bound to rules that are inclusive of other programs that are not as well resourced. But I think it's very short-sighted because I think you'd find out really quickly that it's not as lucrative in the long run. I think it's looking for short-term satisfaction and relief and dollars at the expense of long-term health of the sport. And I just don't think that's a good thing in any way, shape, or form. I hope it never happens. And I understand Jamie's sentiment in that because they're trying to play catch up with programs that have 2 or 3 times the roster budget that they do. But I hope that never comes to fruition.
Well, hey, enjoy the next couple of weeks without us. I know you have what your son's graduating from where? Kindergarten, 5th grade? Didn't you say something about last day of school next week?
My 5th grader's last day of school is next week. My pre-K kid who's going into kindergarten next year is over tomorrow. So
wow, that's a
summertime
great
is almost here.
All right, enjoy that. We'll talk to you later on. See you in Frisco too, of course, in early July. Sam Kahn, what a great day to have him on. Any day is, but also with him being at the Houston Touchdown Club and the conversation off to the side with Sark. And when we come back, so the Georgia president, Jerry Moorhead, had something to say, and also quotes from a couple of conference commissioners a year ago after the House settlement and the College Sports Commission was formed, of what they said and what they thought was going to happen. And here we are a year later, and of course we know that's not true. Plus, we'll have later on in the show today, We're going to look at the top 10 returning players in college football as far as a graphic, and look at that too. Off the radar today, Mac Brown today. This is 365 Sports and the Smoke Show. I have mentioned QC Kinetics many different times, and I'm going to mention them again because it's something for me that has made a huge difference. The way I felt in September with a tugging arthritic type pull in my hip that had been there for 4.5 or so years to where I am now. I ran this morning and feel good. I'm not running fast. I'm more jogging than running, but I did it again. But science is real. The treatments are natural that you get from QC Kinetics. Your body already knows how to heal yourself. So what QC Kinetics does is they give you the right way to take what is inside of your body and put it back in your body. After what they do is spin your blood, plasma, platelets, stem cells, bone marrow, and then inject it back into your body. It's time for you to stop being like in pain. It's time for you to stop waking up and going, whether it's your lower back, your knee, your neck, or in my case, my hip. Maybe it's your ankle, your elbows, or perhaps your wrist. QC Kinetics, it's a place that will help end the pain you have. If you have pain, whether it's arthritis or something else, they can help you out. As I mentioned, your various joints, without surgery, or even better, long recoveries. The science is real. The treatment is real. I have been through it since September, and I feel great because QC Kinetics, here are the numbers in Dallas at 972-972-8610 and in Houston, 713-913-5285. Stop feeling the pain. Take care of the pain and let QC Kinetics be the one that does it for you in Dallas and Houston.
In the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Spring is here, and so are the savings during Richard Card's Spring into Savings sales event. Buick Enclave, Envision, and Encore deliver premium quality and unbeatable value. Right now, non-GM owners can save $5,250 on all 2026 Buick Envisions in stock, or save $6,750 on all 2026 3-row Enclaves in stock. Spring into action and save. Get your next ride at the Spring into Savings event at Richard Car.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
Little peek into Arizona Surprise Stadium. Earlier today, Oklahoma State beat UCF to move into the semifinal round, 12-6, and Baylor trails KU 2-0, bottom third in the other game with K-State, West Virginia later on the night, along with Cincinnati and Arizona State. So Georgia President Jerry Moorhead was discussing, like what everyone else is, whether you're a president, an AD, or administrator, conference commissioner, which is the way things are set up now in college athletics. And here's what he said. If you'll blow that up for me, Rez, thank you. Jerry Moorhead with some groundbreaking public comments on the state of college football to reporters after an athletic board meeting. If we don't get federal legislation, in my opinion, we're going to have to do this conference by conference because we can't allow the Wild West to continue any longer. I'm prepared next week in Destin. I'll be ready to vote on creating an SEC mechanism, SEC rules that we have to do if Congress is not going to act as they should. We just cannot continue down this current path. We have waited months after months for Congress to act, and it hasn't occurred yet. Actually, it's been about 7 years for this. And, of course, we know that this week was another disaster when it comes to being in Washington, D.C. So, who's the one that's breaking the rules? Who's the ones that's not paying attention to the College Sports Commission? It's everybody, but it's as much the SEC as it is the Big Ten, as it is the ACC or the Big 12. So Jerry Moorhead, I like what he's saying, and this is part of that. You do your conference, everybody else does their conference, and I don't know how they then decide which one counts.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. We've heard 17 different versions of this from various others. I think the unique part that's, I suppose, groundbreaking is the doing your own SEC set of rules. And that's actually been talked about in just people circles like us who say, like, well, how could this get fixed? Well, maybe conferences create their own rules and they police themselves. And that way you can't, if you're South Carolina or something, turn around and say, oh, well, we're not going to follow your rules, Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey would be like, bull S, you are. And this is what you were saying the other day. And I pointed out to you, like, if there's a new thing, whatever that new thing is, and inevitably there's going to be a new thing, it's not going to be something where these schools just go, yeah, cool, we're all for that, and then they don't turn around and follow it. Now, I know that's exactly what the College Sports Commission has turned into in some cases, but whatever comes next that's actually a real solution is not going to be optional. It's not going to be, well, Tennessee doesn't feel like doing it this year. We're just going to break the rules knowingly, and then when we get caught for it or we get put in the crosshairs, we're just going to turn around and sue the SEC. No, there will be some real ramifications to that. Like maybe you get suspended from being in the league for a couple years type of a thing. Like there needs to be those types of penalties in order to get people to follow the rules. I don't think the penalties are harsh enough. I also don't think there's anything in place currently to put forth a punishment that's valid and will be followed through upon because, again, the schools just turn around and sue. So whatever agreement, whether it's a conference by conference, and maybe that is the best bet because Tennessee or South Carolina or Georgia, whoever, is not going to break those rules because there's going to be real repercussions for that. There's no repercussions right now. So that's why everybody feels totally fine saying, sure, we'll agree to that. We're definitely not going to follow those rules. That's basically what they all did all offseason. No, the next iteration, there's none of that funny business going on, or there's severe penalties that will follow that and make sure that you never break those rules again. Now, I don't know how to go about putting all that in place. I do think probably having to go by conference is one way to do that. That would be better than what they've tried to do of just this blanket system where they're just like encouraging people to follow the rules. So I'm with him on that being a potential idea. I am going to give, like I gave Sark rightfully a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. I'm not just like crushing him for his comments, given the setting and the time of year and just whatever. It was fun more than it was anything malicious, in my opinion. So I'll give Jerry Moorhead some benefit of the doubt here. But the whole part of if Congress isn't going to act as they should, it's not Congress's job to save college sports. So I don't know if he's misquoted there or if he doesn't understand what he's talking about, but there's no how Congress should be acting about this thing. Congress shouldn't have to be involved in this at all, but your folks drove us to this point for the last 5 decades. And that's why we're in this predicament. So I'm not one to defend politicians, especially right now on any side of any aisle. I think they're all pretty much worthless. But to act as though, well, if Congress isn't going to do what they should, you mean what you want them to do? You mean throw you the life raft? In
other words, you shit the bed and then you want somebody else to clean it up because it shouldn't be your problem.
Well, it's because they can't clean it up. No. They messed their own bed, knowing full well that they really couldn't clean it up, and that somebody else would have to come and do it for them if, in fact, they needed to be cleaned up. And so, yeah, they bet on it. Well, if there needs to be some cleanup here, well, we're just going to have to go and pander to the government to come and save us and help us. So like I said, will give him some benefit of the doubt that maybe I'm just reading that incorrectly or somehow he's being misquoted. But there's no Congress doesn't do what they're supposed to. There's no supposed to do about Congress saving college sports. That's not part of the deal. That's the far off wish that has entered this particular discourse the last couple of years, because you literally have no other options that you will willingly go down. So rather than go to the table with your athletes and do the unthinkable and the move that they will absolutely never do, and I do think there's valid reasons for them to not do it. I don't think that just going and collective bargaining and turning into the NFL is the solution. Like, it would definitely quash some problems, but it would probably lead to others, and it wouldn't be perfect. But given that you guys refuse to do what you can do to try and solve this, you're now just wishing and hoping for the government to come and save you. So, yeah, I just that part of it stuck with me, and I can't really focus too much on the rest of it outside of what I said at the beginning of, maybe league by league rules or what it's going to take. But I don't know how you would implement that in practice and how it would work across the board.
All right. So it was a year ago, 51 weeks ago, where the House settlement and eventually what was right after that, the College Sports Commission. Here are quotes from commissioners after this was done. Greg Sankey, if you want an unregulated, open system, just raise your hand and let me know. And universally, the answer is no, we want oversight. We want guardrails. We want structure. Those individuals don't have the luxury just to say that in a meeting rooms, period. They don't have the luxury to just anonymously, to be just anonymous sources. They have a responsibility to make what they've sought, what they've asked for, and to make it work.
And this storyline, and it's going on right now because we're just at another impasse, and there's still no progress really that's been made whatsoever. This is a sentiment that's been out there for a while, to the point of I've ranted about it on multiple occasions of, yes, the biggest problem is the people who say they want rules don't actually want rules. It's that simple. These colleges say they want rules. They say they want guardrails. And then you give them rules and you give them guardrails. And the moment they can, or the moment they feel like, oh, we got that 5-star right there, guys. Like, I know we got to break some rules, but God, we got to do what's best for us. And that's all anybody ever does, is what's best for them. That you left it in the hands of the schools, and surprise, surprise, they immediately went to finding out how they could break the rules. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. It's not the government's fault. It's not the NCAA, the boogeyman's fault, because after all, they are the NCAA in so many ways and shapes and forms. And so that's the maddening part when I keep seeing quotes like this, or I see the next president come out, or the next Jerry Moorhead, or the next Kirby Smart, or whoever talking about, well, we need some guardrails and rules in place. Yeah, you got them. And then you immediately turn around and break them. Not you specifically, Georgia, but I mean, how many teams say they want eligibility rules and then they turn around and they go sue over eligibility? A lot of teams in the SEC did that, in fact, this offseason. So, I just spare me on these college leaders acting like the victims. You are the ones that put yourselves in this position, or it was your predecessors. And now you want the government to come and save you. And it's becoming kind of a tired subject in my mind because it's just same S, different day with we want rules, but we don't want to follow the rules. And so you just go in this circle where nothing ever changes. They just keep bitching about the same things while also simultaneously being the reason why they're bitching about the same things. It's maddening from that standpoint. When you look at it from the outside looking in, it's crazy to watch these guys complain about the situation they've created. Like,
yeah, okay.
If you just followed the rules, then we'd have a lot less issues.
What would Vegas say? Who will be the first SEC team to get dinged for not following the rules? LSU or Ole Miss, or maybe somebody else?
I mean, take your pick. I mean, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee.
It could be Mississippi State. It could be South Carolina. All right. This is Justin Williams in theathletic.com. This was a little less than a year ago after the settlement was done, signed, sealed, and delivered. The decision to approve the settlement on Friday is a significant step forward towards building long-term stability. There's been none of that for college sports while protecting the system from bad actors seeking to exploit confusion and uncertainty. Also, Sankey went on to say, ultimately, it is incumbent upon everyone involved in college sports to make the terms of the settlement work. We must be committed and embrace both the realities and opportunities ahead. He also acknowledged challenges and growing pains. Boy, there have been some growing pains, and that happens with change. Finally, while this settlement does not solve every issue, it establishes a solid foundation for stability and a sustainable future. There's a couple of other ones, but bottom line, we want oversight. We want guardrails, like you said before. We want structure. And that's what the settlement was supposed to have done. That's what the College Sports Commission was supposed to look at, approve or not. And yet it seems like none of that, or at least a lot of that, has not happened or is the case.
No, Nebraska's trying to fit through extra deals through their media partner, emphasis on word partner, of which they then turned around and said, well, we're not directly like that. That whole thing was just like, are you kidding me? I just feel like I'm being gaslit constantly with some of these things. I mean, I don't know what else to say than what I just already said. They say they want things. They don't really want them. That's the end of the story. We'll get to a place in college sports where there are rules when the schools actually are willing to follow them. But in the meantime, they just want to do Groundhog Day and say one thing, do another, gaslight about wanting things only to then go and find the fastest, quickest way to break those things they say that they want. So it's just kind of stupid at this point, this whole conversation. And I don't feel the need to keep rehashing the fact that they don't want to follow their rules. But yeah, I mean, I get that you bring back some quotes, and a lot of this was incumbent upon the schools doing their job and following along and being willing to follow along. But they just can't help themselves. They all have to be as selfish and greedy as possible. And so here we are, and it's the same story that it's been for the last couple of years. So I think that, of anything that we just talked about here, if Jerry Moorhead is right and we go down a path where the SEC is suddenly policing the SEC, and that's been widely talked about before, that idea, or same thing with any other conference, and you can actually, and I don't know legally what's possible or what's not, but if Greg Sankey had the ability with the agreement of all of his teams and a signed legitimate contract that's not going to be sued the moment that you try to enforce it, but a contract that you say, you sign this, it's like writing your name in blood. Like, you follow these rules or there's major consequences. That's the way to actually curtail some of this. Okay, Tennessee, you want to break the rules? We told you about the transfer portal tampering. You didn't want to listen. You're going to go sue us now because you feel like in the state of Tennessee, there's free market this or whatever. Tennessee, you're forfeiting your game against Ole Miss. Period. or something along those lines. That's the only way anybody's ever going to follow the rules, is to go to those extremes, because they've tried to do it the nice way and it's not working. So I don't know if that's legally feasible, or it's, you know what? All right, money's so precious, $1.5 million fine. None of this NBA finding a guy who makes $50 million, $15,000 to where it's like whatever. But like, no, $1.5 million, that could have gotten you a really good cornerback. So instead of having that $1.5 million, now you're paying a penalty. It would need to be substantial. I don't know how realistic that is or not, but that's to me the only real solution.
All right, last quote from Brett Yormark, Big 12 commissioner. It's progress over perfection. Now, you think about that quote, that makes sense. It's progress, but it's absolutely not perfect. Yormark, our schools want rules, and we're providing rules, and we will be governed by those rules, and if you break those rules, the ramifications will be punitive. Has anybody been put on probation?
Well, I mean, we're in the early stages of this thing, so I think it would be hard to already have somebody on probation, like whatever, how many months in we're into this thing. So no.
Well, because really the rules are you can pay anybody all you want, no matter what kind the structure. So you can't ding anybody for that, right? You can't. The NIL payments, the College Sports Commission is just now starting to be able to go, okay, we can't do this, you can't do this, whatever. What would be a rule though with the House settlement? What was he referring to? If you break the rules, there will be penalties and they will be punitive.
Well, there's the things that I'm talking about are supposed to be the penalties. Yeah. Like they're supposed to be the ability by the CSC to levy postseason bans. There is the ability to levy hefty fines. There is the ability to withhold revenue. There is the ability to, what else was there? I think they said that you could like withhold revenue. There'd be all sorts of penalties. And those are the penalties that I just outlined, like in my scenario where Greg Sankey says, all right, South Carolina, like this is what happens. Those are the things that are meaningful to programs that would actually hurt them. Giving them a real deal monetary fine when money's at such a premium, banning them or costing them games because that's all they care about would be legitimate punishments. But yeah, I don't know that anybody's committed any sort of penalty or incurred such a penalty to warrant any of that right now. I mean, we've seen very little. We've seen Nebraska trying to challenge third-party rules, but that's not like breaking any rules necessarily, and it's certainly not something that if you're dealing with it through the courts, you'd expect Nebraska to get handed like $500,000 fine for just trying to circumvent. Now, if it gets found like, no, you cannot do this, and then Nebraska goes and does it anyways, and then you find out about it, well, that's when you're banned from the postseason, or you're cost games, or you're fined $2 million, or that's what you would do. I just don't think we've seen anything to be put into practice yet. But I also feel like no matter what the CSC did, and that's what the idea is they would have punishments like that, and those are the ones that I also just had in mind that I was talking about at the beginning of, like, that's because those are the ones that make sense. Those are the ones that would matter. But it remains to be seen on if they do, in fact, try to do that with somebody one day, whether or not Team A turns around and says, all right, we're taking you to local court like they do with everything else. Like that's the part we haven't got to yet. So it's hard to know what teeth the CSC really has because there's not a case for us to really go off of. And maybe there will be soon. Not really sure, but in the meantime, everybody's trying to find every way they can to get around the rules as best they can. And that is the story of college football and college sports in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no doubt. And here's one from Patrick Cheney. What are the rules? And what rules have been broken? I'm being serious when I asked this question. That's from Patrick Cheney. Good question. I don't know. They have the CSC in place to prevent you from breaking rules, and they can deny the NIL or however you want to pay a player or players, like what they've done with the arbitration against Nebraska. But I don't know if anybody has actually broken a rule as far as what they've paid a player, because the CSC has to approve at least players getting money. It's kind of, I know that sounds backwards.
Yeah, I mean, part of the rules is the way in which the payments are put together. And so that's part of what Nebraska didn't get clearance on theirs. So now they're trying to challenge to say, well, the way these payments go, like we feel like this should be warranted, but it's basically regulations on NIL and how all that operates from who it goes through to limitations, like, the quote unquote salary cap, if you will, like those kind of things are what it entails. But yeah, I think in terms of like something super black and white and clear cut, it's not something that you think of like you break a rule in society kind of thing. Oh, you were speeding, you're kind of thing. Like it's more, you went over the limit of the compensation limitations. You didn't report things properly. You circumvented the way the payments are supposed to go through, and you did the $100 in the locker thing. Like you went around the rules that you've agreed to on how it should operate, from the amounts to what channels they go through. Hopefully that makes sense. You've agreed on how all that should work. And so you're finding Nebraska, trying to find, well, I know we're supposed to go this way, but we found a way this way. We're going to do that. Well, no, you can't do that because that's against the rules. But now what are they doing? They're going and taking it to home court. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, they're not like fun, sexy rules, but they're just the guiding principles that they've all agreed to limit the money, how it goes about getting funneled through to the players ultimately. And what you're seeing is people try to get around that. And so those are the rules as like general as I could explain them.
All right. We're going to come back. Craig has Off the Radar at 4:45. Mac Brown needs to be on with us. He'll be on with us at 5. The top 10 players coming back in college football. I looked at the list, and, I wasn't like, I was like, oh, this is obvious. There's a couple of names that maybe should be on the list. And one player, of course, who's had an incident that he was involved with that might keep him from being productive at all in Missouri, running back Ahmad Hardy. We'll come back. Well, here we do it now. All right, yeah, go ahead, Rez. We'll do that now. Here are the top 10 best players in college football, according to Ari Wasserman from On3.com. And you could do this. Craig could do this. I could do this. Garrett, Rez, we could all do one, but this one here. And it starts, Craig, with the wide receiver himself, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State.
Yeah, he's a really great player. He's a really great player, and I think a logical guy to have at number one. I don't really have any big issue with a list like this. Like, generally, you're going to have the same names on the best players list. The order might fluctuate here and there, but Jeremiah Smith's great. He's very likely the number one, if not number two, pick in the NFL draft. Hard to see. Well, I guess, a lot will depend on the details and everything, but I mean, he's that type of a player. He's a franchise guy. A lot of these names on here are, Leonard Moore's an incredible player. Malachi Toney's incredibly fun to watch. Colin Simmons is great. Yeah, it's an off-season list with a bunch of the biggest names, and those are a lot of the guys we're going to be talking about coming up in the future. But if you want to venture into Cam Coleman's underrated or something, then I'm not the guy to get into that conversation with.
You see Texas 3 times on that list. And think about it. Simmons is phenomenal, has been since he stepped on campus. Arch, it's his time. And last year at times he was brilliant, and he was also young and inexperienced, and sometimes just did not get protection. And then Cam Coleman won as big a transfer portal pickup, and what they needed and what they got, that was an alpha. And Cam Coleman, the wide receiver from Auburn, who now plays for Sarkisian on his offense.
Yeah, I know this is off-season fodder. I don't like, this is the kind of thing, like this particular style of a list where it's just listing the best players, where I just don't really care all that much about his or anybody else's, like, I guess, opinion on that, because it's to each their own. And again, a lot of these are not really arguable. They are the best players in college football. So yeah, these are the best players in college football. I know people in the NFL get excited when they do like their top 100 and get really into that and really tribalistic about it. But for me, it's just like, yeah, I don't really get too into the weeds on, well, Dante Moore should absolutely be. I know that's not great sports radio, but I just, with this particular kind of subject, I'm just not like that in depth with it. But you could definitely make the case, well, Dante Moore should be above Arch Manning if you want to make that case. I think probably the best conversation stemming off this would be like, who's not on this list that people feel should be, and I'd be open ears to who that would entail. But as far as like the rankings themselves, and the players listed here. I think it's good off-season fodder, and however you want to digest it, then to each their own. But for me, it's okay. It's a cool list.
I like that there's an offensive lineman, Carter Smith, Indiana,
Sure.
which is part of the team last year on both sides of the ball. That, Mendoza got a lot of the attention. The receivers got a lot of the attention. Obviously, the defense was a lot better than anyone could ever have imagined. They were just sticky good. And the offensive line that was very, very good because they could run the ball whenever they wanted to run the ball and protect Mendoza. So it's good to see an offensive lineman and not just weapons, offensive weapons or defensive guys who sack the quarterback and a little bit of that. We met. Dylan Stewart was a part of our show, a Radio Row show from the Super Bowl. Hell of a player. Really quiet young man, but a phenomenal talent from South Carolina. Cornerback at number 2. I've heard of Leonard Moore, but I really didn't know how good people thought about him. Like, he is phenomenal. And it was nice to kind of see his name inside that top 10, all the way up as high as number 2, in fact.
Well, if he wasn't inside the top 10, this list would be complete garbage. Because he's definitely one of the best players coming back in college football, and he's a stud, and he's going to be a very high draft pick in the NFL. So I don't know if there's any other glaring omissions. I'm trying to think as we're talking along here. And I haven't really come up with anybody that's like, oh my God, I can't believe. But Leonard Moore's awesome. Notre Dame's going to be really good. I can't wait to see how CJ Carr follows up last year. I've got really high expectations, as do a lot of people, for that young man and what is a really interesting group of quarterbacks. Trying to think of anything else. I mean, it's no surprise that that a lot of the talent seemingly comes from like 2 different leagues on this list, with the exception of Leonard Moore and Notre Dame. It's all SEC and a few Big Ten guys in here as well. But given kind of the way recruiting's gone and where the biggest schools are now, especially after the last realignment, it makes sense that those 2 leagues would have a bulk of the best players. I don't really have any major opinions on a random top 10 best players list, especially when, those are a lot of just logical choices here.
Well, Mississippi has Trinidad Chambliss, but again, we're talking, he could be someone that maybe someone drops out. He could be on it. And I love their running back in Keywan Lacey, but then again, it's a top 10, not a top 17.
Right.
So if you add somebody, we have rules. You have to take somebody off.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody in Oxford wants to say that Trinidad Chambliss is better than Arch and he could be on those lists, then by all means, let that guy rant and listen to him about it. But there's little things like that you could argue about this, but it's one man's opinion of many opinions that he and we all have. And I think most top 10 lists will probably be about around, like, as far as the names go, it'll probably be a bulk, if not a lot of those same, or if not all of those same names, not a lot of those same names.
Have you ever heard of Prize Picks or the Hidden Gems? Jams?
I've heard of Prize Picks, yeah.
What is that?
It's just another gambling outlet, yeah.
Adam Wexler, a 2007 graduate of Georgia, donated $10 million to the University of Georgia Athletic Department, the Athletic Director Excellence Fund. It's Adam Wexler, proud 2007 graduate. He also owns not only Prize Picks, but also the CEO of the Hidden Gems, the largest single donation to Georgia athletics. That happened today on the same day that Jerry Moorhead was also someone we quoted a little bit just a while ago.
Yeah, I've never heard of Hidden Gems until now, so I guess they're getting some good play today from all over the place. But apparently it's like a musical deal, which makes sense, the name Hidden Gems. Through the wisdom of crowds, we rank, order each artist's catalog, identifying deep cuts, and best of all, surfacing the hidden gems. So sounds like just a big catalog of sorts for music fans out there. So I guess that's cool. I've never heard of it until you just mentioned. I definitely heard of Prize Picks and see its advertisements everywhere. Maybe even on this show. I don't even know what kind of comes and goes sometimes.
I would have recognized that one. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's not a surprise that a guy who's running a gambling outfit these days is doing pretty well to be able to cut a $10 million check and give it to his favorite school. That is an industry that is booming, and that's cool that you're able to give back and give back such a substantial chunk. So that's great for Georgia. That's an absolutely massive gift. I mean, people cut a couple million here, 5 million there, and then you have the big big wigs that cut the, massive facility check, but 10 million, that can go a long way. So cool for Georgia.
All right. So a little note today, an experience that I had today I want to bring up, and then Craig will have off the radar. When was the last time that you did not have your cell phone for an extended period of time, and what would you consider an extended period of time? In the chat room, I'll look at what you have in there as well. I had a laser beam like line right through the top to the bottom of my phone. The phone worked fine. I could take calls, make calls, but it was enough to where it could be a little annoying when you're trying to respond with an email or a text and you just couldn't quite see one of the letters or numbers. So I took it to AT&T last night after the show, and they said, you have insurance. And I took it to a place that says, you break it, I fix it, or something like that. And I gave it to them. And I had probably one of the most peaceful 3 hours that I've had in a long, long time. Now, some, like I know Craig, you and others can like put that notifications, notify whatever, you're busy. You get it, but you're not like focused on everything, every text. I'm different. That doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, but I gave the phone, walked away, and it made me start to wonder, what if we didn't have the internet? How would, like, I'm now again, a lot of you,
blunt or
after you hit the blunt. But really, I started thinking about how I digested sports back in the day. You had a newspaper that was 14 to 16 or whatever hours after a game had been played. You had box scores. You had standings. You had all of that. It was like the internet, but on paper. But it was also the next day. And so if something was happening, for example, let's say Texas OU game in college football in 1977 or whatever, the game was probably on TV, so you get to watch it. But the only way, there weren't many games on TV back then. And if Notre Dame was playing Ohio State, it probably was on, but you'd get a scroll, or you get a halftime report. But now we get everything immediately. And I wonder if it wouldn't be pretty cool just to see how you would react if all of a sudden the internet, the 2nd, 5th, 9th weekend in college football just shut down and you couldn't get it on your phone and you couldn't get it on your laptop.
Well, just pass that over here, I guess, when you're done with it, and I'll
the blunt?
partake. Yeah, I mean that definitely sounds like a thing that you started just like.
No, I'm just sharing. Yeah, no.
I'm joking. But it is very much like a stoner thought. Like, what would happen if we didn't have the internet, man? Like, how peaceful would it all be? But to your point, yeah, the world would be a much better place. There would be some detractions to that. There's a lot of good that has come from that. Like, I mean, for me, I'd be willing to throw this cell phone out the freaking window if it weren't for the fact that I just feel like with family, I need to be one call away. Mm-hmm. That's the benefit of a phone. Or having directions to a place. I look back, I don't know how I used to remember where to go without a phone. I really don't. I don't, like, other than just how to get home and stuff, but just like getting directions. I know we'd write them down and everything, but if the direction was wrong or you didn't write the right thing down, like stop at a gas station and ask somebody type of a thing was how you'd go about doing it. But yeah, I think the world would be a much better, much happier, much less corrupt, much less gaslit place. I go on social media now and there's just so much lying and misinformation and gaslighting and fakery. It's just really weird and really kind of gross. And it's really strange how much people don't understand that it's that, like, haven't come to that realization just yet. But yeah, it's good to pop your head out of the internet bubble every once in a while and live in reality for a few. That's why I've said I've taken major breaks on social media and I've loved it. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I still get alerts to my phone. So, like, to the point of what you talked about there, I'm talking more in general, but yeah, we just wouldn't, like, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't feel the need to have the Yankees score right away, though. Like, we're used to it now. So, yeah, if you just ripped that away, well, yeah, that would be weird because now you've given us 10 years where we get everything we want automatically. But if we just never had that and didn't know any different, like, yeah, we were totally fine not having information right away. But yeah, if you were to yank that away at this point, well, it's an impossible hypothetical because, of course, everybody would be disjointed by that because we've had everything and now we've got to go back to a completely archaic way. I do think, though, if that happened, the world would actually be a better place in a lot of ways. I do feel that way.
Well, I reflected back to this. When you would take a trip with the family on vacation.
Oh, no, phones are way better for those types of things, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly when a phone flights, give me the phone.
So let's say you're going to drive 1,600 miles from here and you're going to go to Tampa, Florida to go see mom and dad and your brothers, etc. You get in the phone, your phone's constantly. One, it's your maps, whatever they call that app. But maps. In the day, you would probably have had a conversation with whoever you're going to go visit, maybe the night before in a landline, and told them, hey, we're leaving tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And you never leave on time. And we'll be there Friday, sometime late Friday afternoon or evening. And then you'd usually drive 7, 8, 9 hours, and then you'd stay at a hotel room. But there was never the distraction of a cell phone. I remember it was a big deal, Craig, when we got I forgot what it was, a Jeep Rodeo, whatever it was, and it had a movie screen that popped down in the back. Remember, that keep you guys occupied.
It's really interesting you asked this question. I mean, how could you drive without texting the entire time?
No, I couldn't. That's why I was a better driver.
Yeah.
But it just made me wonder, like, for that 3 hours, and I'm going to close it out with this. I wanted to share that. It was pretty cool. It really was. And guess what? When I got it back and they fixed the screen, I did not have one single message other than my bank app telling me that there had been a charge because I had stopped off and gotten some gas.
No, we would all be totally fine. Many of us, if not all of us, would be much better off, and the world would be a better place in some ways, not in every way. There are some good benefits of it, but I think more along the lines of when we go on a road trip like that and not have a cell phone, the actual real boredom. So when I see anybody nowadays say they're bored while they're just doom scrolling, I just go like, you have no idea, or you just don't remember how boring really was when you truly had nothing to keep you occupied and not 1,000 video games on this alone. I could listen to 1,000 songs, anyone I want to at any time. I could play any video game basically I want to, and yet still somehow people are bored. That's what's alarming to me. It's like, how could you, if you're bored with all of that, like, you have no idea what it was like to be in the back seat of a station wagon for 15 hours with a freaking comic book and like a coloring book and maybe eventually like a Walkman or something. But yeah, I think there would be a lot of benefits to it. But yeah, that must have been some really good stuff that you had when you started thinking about this.
Yeah, no, it just was me being reminiscing. You get to be
maybe
my
you
age.
should follow your own advice. Maybe you should
No.
away.
I'm telling you right now.
So you're the worst ambassador for this because you're absolutely the most chronically on your phone person that I know in my life.
One of the
without
reasons,
question.
like, okay, but here's, for example,
it's business. I got to do business.
There's a lot of that. Some of it's personal, but some of it, like if I'm playing golf on a Sunday morning and I'm looking at possibly guests for the next 2, 3, 4 days, yeah, sometimes I'll be getting texts back and forth during the time I'm trying to enjoy myself. When we come back, golfing without a phone is therapy.
See, yeah, you should golf without the phone, right? Yeah, I would think that's be the time that you put it away. But I don't think that he probably, like, I'm not saying this to be mean in any way. I would have everybody in this room verify this, that he is the most chronically on his phone person. So I can see where not having it for 5 seconds would be like, whoa, like, what? It's reality. Wow. This is what it's like. Yeah. We got to get away from the lit up screen every once in a while. When you do, it is kind of amazing what that looks like.
Firefighter. I dropped my phone off the bike on day 2 of a week-long trip.
Yeah, I can see where that would create a lot of headaches. I did something similar on our trip, broke my phone and then had a shattered screen, and it like ruined the next 24 hours of the trip, and eventually adjusted to it. But yeah, that's the kind of thing where we're just so used to them now. It's like a third hand in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's almost impossible to put all that back in the box.
All right, when we come back off the radar with Craig Smoke, Mac Brown today at 5 on many things, of course, college football and athletics. We appreciate your time, and this is 365 Sports. North Star Funding Partners. Have you heard of the new IRA, the Insured Retirement Advantage? The Insured Retirement Advantage, a smarter way to help you achieve your savings and retirement goals, as it will help you do the following. Create a supplemental, tax-free income stream, maintain liquidity for other investments or business needs, and also protect your family and, in the long term, transfer wealth efficiently. It's a unique solution for clients who are financially strong, make a minimum of $150,000 annually, but haven't yet reached or achieved their savings and retirement goals. You can start at any time, so why not start right now? Here's the website, NorthstarFundingPartners.com, NorthstarFundingPartners.com. Free income, guaranteed tax-free income, retirement income, legacy protection, and capital efficiency. Now, they don't want me to tell you it's free income because you're not getting anything free. What I mean by that is you're getting tax-free income, guaranteed retirement income. If you do what they ask you to do, get in touch with them. Get some consultation. Get some advice. Set up a conversation on Zoom or wherever it is at NorthstarFundingPartners.com. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.
It's time for Craig Smoke's Off the Radar.
Welcome back to 365 Sports. Appreciate you joining us and being with us, and hopefully hanging with us for the next few, as we got a little bit less than an hour to go here. Mac Brown coming up in about 15 minutes. But in the meantime, getting a little off the radar, taking a look at some stories off the beaten path of college football, and just giving us an opportunity to take a look at some different things. And that includes following up on the latest freak show fight, courtesy of Netflix. And I don't mean that in a negative way necessarily, although it does feel like the biggest fights that we talk about nowadays are becoming more and more of the freak show variety and less of just really good boxers in their primes squaring off, or really good MMA guys squaring off in their prime. It's the guy who hasn't fought in 5 years, the girl who hasn't fought in 10, the one that went off to Hollywood, the one who's never fought before but is popular on social media. Those are the fights that are the biggest fights nowadays. And one of those took place this past weekend. It was Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano on Netflix. Neither woman having fought in several years. Rousey, the most accomplished as far as being a UFC champion, whereas Carano took part in other companies, eventually went to Hollywood. Ronda did a little Hollywood stuff, did some WWE a couple times over, and then motherhood was eventually Ronda's path before getting an offer I can only imagine was like one that you just can't simply pass off or turn down. And so both ladies with a major opportunity to make a lot of money for one night took up the Netflix offer. And did you by any chance see the results of this
fight?
You did. You watched the fight.
I watched the fight. I'll tell you what, Gina Carano, she's in her mid 40s. She's a really pretty woman. I did not remember her being like the alpha or alphabet, whatever you want to call it. At one point, I do remember her.
She really wasn't ever that.
Was she a trailblazer?
Yeah, I mean, you could say they both. I mean, that's kind of if you were to put them in a category, yeah, they were both pioneers of female MMA. But Gina Carano, I wouldn't say was like Ronda Rousey's level.
No, Ronda Rousey was not McGregor. What's the other guy's name? Who's the guy that had the hair, the mohawk?
You can never remember. It's Chuck Liddell. We've gone over this 1,000 times.
But I remember his face. He's a mean son of a bitch. Ronda Rousey pummeled people or took them out quickly. She got him on the ground. She was over. She could knock him out. And then, of course, she finally met her match. I thought she would win, but I just did not. 44 years old, and Gina Carano lost 100 pounds to get to that point. Yeah, God bless her for trying to do what she did. But, yeah, that was over. I was happy because then I could turn off my TV and go to sleep. Kind of like Gina Carano almost was put to sleep too.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ronda Rousey's got a very proficient skill set as far as jiu-jitsu, I believe, goes. Well-trained, Jean LaBelle, all that back in the day, and or judo, I want to say judo. But, yeah, that was a contrast to when you saw them lined up, Gina Carano, a much bigger woman, like much more size. And if they had gotten into just pure boxing, maybe that goes differently. Gina Carano is mostly known for like her time in Strike Force, but that was all 10 plus years ago during the MMA boom. And I'm not sure, like, other than people my age and above who really all recall like what she was. I think most people actually remember her more for like being in Deadpool than they do from her fighting career. But yeah, Ronda was obviously a massive supernova level of a star, and the UFC's never quite gotten back to that level of when they had her and McGregor and John Jones, even when he could actually stay out of trouble, and kind of that run of folks who were all excellent and immensely popular. But yeah, it was a very short fight, and 17 seconds, the total time that it took to get over with, as Ronda Rousey used her ground skills and her judo to submit Gina Carano in 17 seconds. So that's all it took. I actually didn't even see it initially because I don't know. I was preoccupied with something else. I knew that it was on, and then by the time I thought to go and turn it over, it was already over. It was already done. It was 17 seconds.
If I would have gotten up and gone to go get a Diet Coke, it was pretty late at night, but if I'd have gone and go get a drink or whatever, I would have missed it too. It's kind of like I felt bad for Gina Carano, and then I wondered, okay, how many people are going to think that this was a put on? No, Ronda Rousey just got her on the floor, got her on the mat, and about to break her arm, and she gave in.
Yeah, I mean, she was much smaller, but she got her on the ground and was able to just submit her. So good, nice little 17-second multi-million-dollar payday for both women. More of the trouble and training probably than certainly the fight took for even Carano, because I mean, how much can you really be suffering after 17 seconds? She could have made her suffer a lot more, like broken her arm if she wanted to, but they were both there to make lifelong retirement money, and they accomplished that and got a big audience. 12.4 million viewers on Netflix, which is what I was getting around to. The highest point, 17 million people were tuning in for that one. But yeah, 12.4 million, pretty sizable number. And when you're pulling in that many millions of people, it's just, I think, more ammunition and motivation to keep putting on fights like this, to keep putting on the Jake Pauls of the world, who was the promoter of this event. It was under his company's umbrella. There was the whole to-do about it not being the UFC because of Ronda's ties, and apparently they shopped it to the UFC. UFC wasn't interested in it, couldn't make it happen, or didn't want to make it happen, and so Jake Paul's promotional company did, and seems like it was a success. But this is kind of the way of boxing and MMA nowadays. UFC is still king, but as far as any other company really goes, like Zuffa is irrelevant. Basically, there's nobody casual that talks about Zuffa boxing or really boxing in general. So these Netflix fights for both MMA and boxing have brought a spotlight. I don't know how sustainable it is, but it's providing big paydays, and there's a lot of people just interested in what does this look like when these two stars who haven't fought in a decade plus match up for a fight that would have been a lot better back in like 2015. There's still plenty of interest, just like the reason we're getting another Mayweather-Pacquiao. There's a bunch of money, even though these guys...
McGregor and Holloway, is that right?
McGregor and Holloway, yeah. And I was going to get to that. Conor McGregor, speaking of not washed up, but people who haven't fought in a really long time, after years and years of speculation on when he might finally come back and fight, Conor McGregor's next fight is officially set July the 11th, so a little less than 2 months away. He's going to be fighting Max Holloway, who's an incredible Hall of Fame level fighter. It'll headline International Fight Week in Las Vegas for UFC. Dana White announcing it on social media during their weekend event. Has been talked about pretty widely, but not confirmed until now. And this will be the first fight for formerly the most famous fighter on earth there for a good period of time, outside of maybe Mayweather. But then, of course, McGregor and Mayweather had their fight, their boxing exhibition that probably was the prelude to a lot of these types of fights that we get now that I think about it. I mean, that was both guys still basically in their prime and not taking people from Hollywood 10 years later. But I think the freak show aspect of this MMA guy versus this great boxer is like, oh, there's something here that we can follow through with. But that announced he will be fighting for the first time since July 2021. So 5 years since his last fight. He broke his lower tibia in his trilogy match with Dustin Poirier, lost in the first round as the doctors stopped the fight due to the tibia injury. And that was back-to-back losses to Poirier. So that's the last time we've seen him. We've seen him win once in his last 4 matches. So he has been riding on the fumes of his previous successes for going on at least 5 years now. And so he's been around for in the headlines, better or worse, but he'll be back later on this summer to fight Max Holloway. And I do not like that matchup for him, by the way.
No.
I think Max Holloway wins that fight. He's not taking any breaks. And he probably needs to as much as he fights. But, that's a really tough opponent to be coming back to fight after 5 years away from the octagon.
When I think of your sport, and I know that UFC and other sports or boxing, they have their moments. But when I see a sport that has to rely on their past, like people who have retired multiple times, who are a shell of themselves in many ways, and I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to get in a ring with any of them. I'm not saying I would. But when you have to go back and do that, one, it's kind of who we are now as a society with what we want to watch. Sometimes car wrecks.
Nostalgia.
And we're nostalgia. And a lot of people love stars and celebrities, even if they're well past their prime as movies or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of this going on. But people are buying it, so they're interested, so they're going to keep feeding it.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're the UFC, you're not going to turn down a guy who's probably the biggest moneymaker that you've ever had. And I say probably just because I don't know. I know he's in the conversation and probably would be the guy who's made them the most money overall. But I think, you wouldn't turn that down. The big 5-year return away. Of course, you're going to promote that if you're Dana White, unless you just can't do business with him anymore. Then sure. And I don't think it's dipping into nostalgia. I think it's Conor McGregor's last opportunity to matter at all, and you're going to squeeze whatever juice you can out of him while you still can, because that man was a walking, talking cash cow for several years, and probably still is, because this will be more talked about than probably any other event they've done in the last 2 or 3 years, because how often do you hear them being talked about these days? UFC and WWE are both making a lot of money under TKO. I would also argue they're like as as just kind of middle of the road popular as they've ever been in the last several years. Both of those companies.
I agree.
WWE's come down a lot from where they were about a year ago. And so this is one of the biggest fights you can put on. As a promoter, you're going to put this fight on. I'm interested. I don't have high hopes for Conor McGregor to win this fight against Max Holloway, but I'll be there for it. And it's one of the only fights they can put on at this point that I have any interest in, because I'm not a hardcore, like, give me more Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's a bad example. He's been retired, but give me more of the Dagestanis to win more belts. I don't care about that these days. So this actually will pique my interest a little bit, and I'm sure a lot of other people's, which is why they're doing it. All right, wrapping it up here. NBA playoffs last night. Oklahoma City even in their series.
Flex their muscles.
Western Finals with San Antonio. Thunder tied up 1-1, 122-113 victory at home. And great game. Really fun series going on. And very likely the NBA champion comes from whoever emerges from this side if they don't beat each other up too much. But it's an incredible series through just 2 games. So all tied up. And we'll see where that takes us. But tonight, it's the Eastern Finals in the spotlight as Cleveland is at MSG to take on the Knicks. So Cavs and Knicks. Game 2, New York leads that series 1-0. And then OKC and San Antonio will resume tomorrow. But tonight, 7 o'clock, ESPN is where you can catch Cavs and Knicks. And then in hockey, as the Stanley Cup playoffs roll along, last night you had Vegas winning on the road against Colorado to take a 1-0 series lead. And the Western Conference Finals tonight, the East, Game 1, Carolina hosting Montreal, 7 o'clock on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max. So the Canadiens and the Hurricanes getting underway with their series. And so a couple of options pro sports wise outside of baseball and all the rest, but a couple postseason games to watch tonight in the NBA and NHL. And there you go. There's a few things off the radar.
Carolina hasn't played in 11 days. The 11 days they got.
Sounds like they'd be great for the college football playoff.
They nuked their opponents pretty quickly. And so they've had either it can be too much rest or whatever. We have seen that quite a bit. I see him in the transfer portal. Hall of Fame head football coach Mac Brown joins us on 365 Sports. And Mac, it's great to have you on at any time, and we appreciate your time, in fact, with us yet again today. Did you hear Coach Sarkisian and his comments today at the downtown Houston, the Touchdown Club?
No, I did not.
Craig, tell Coach Brown what Sark said.
Coach, I mean, you may have seen the headlines or not, but Sark said that there's another school, and he didn't name them. There's another school in the state of Texas that if Texas played their schedule, they could go undefeated with their 2s and 3s. And everybody's saying, well, that's probably Texas Tech he's talking about, because there's only a couple of options. And so you can see why that has been circulating a little bit, that quote from Sarkisian.
It is that time of the year, Mac, where we get a lot of these fun luncheons and tours, right?
It is, with tired coaches and frustrated with some rules and regulations, and then you try to cut up and you say something funny and it doesn't come out funny. David, I used to come home and Sally'd say, "Did you really say that?" I said, "I was just kidding." She said, "They missed that part. They missed the part that you were kidding. They think you were telling the truth." So Steve is frustrated with the playoff committee because of strength of schedule. That's one thing. I've heard, read, watched him, and I agree. Are you going to play Ohio State and lose on the road against the national champion, #1 team in the country, and then be punished? So it has nothing to do with the other schools he's talking about. I'm sure if it is Tech, Joey would love to think he could win all the games with his 2s and 3s. Probably not the case, but Steve's point has been, let's be transparent. Let's tell schools, universities, exactly, athletics directors, regents, coaches, exactly what you have to accomplish to get in the playoff, because everybody now at that level needs to win or trying to win the national championship. So if I don't know how to schedule, then how can I plan on preparing my team to win the national championship? Should I play a group of 6 team at home and beat them 60-20, play everybody, have fun, make a lot of money, have a sellout, and does that not hurt me getting in the playoff instead of losing to Ohio State on the road? So I think that's the question. It's not really anything other than Sark saying, come on, committee, tell us what we need to do. And then if we can accomplish the goals that you've set out there, the challenges for us, then we get in the playoff instead of having to go to a bowl game and play Michigan last year when we felt like we were one of the best teams in the country trending at that time.
And you're spot on, Coach. I think that's exactly what his intention was. But of course, we can't all take it that way. We've got to get the Tech fans riled up, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure Joey will have at least a tongue-in-cheek kind of response at his same sort of event whenever the time comes here in the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, the strength of schedule piece is exactly where Sark was coming from. Do you have any idea of how to go about ensuring that it does matter the way that it should? I mean, is that with more playoff teams, less playoff teams? Like, do you know, or do you have any idea of what a solution would look like that would kind of satisfy, what Sark's looking for as far as having that type of emphasis?
Yes, we've talked about it some on our podcast. Number one, there's smart people that are on the committee. And they can't watch 50 games a week and study them and know exactly by watching video who is the best team. That's hard. So there have to be parameters in place. So if it's strength of schedule, if it's winning your conference championship, because the conference champs, I think, were 1-9 in the playoffs. And then Miami didn't even win the ACC championship. Duke did. Miami gets in, goes to the final game, and Duke doesn't get in. So obviously the conference champion right now is not a factor in any of this. So, but I do think strength of record, strength of schedule, it has to matter. It's going to be even tougher, guys, to determine who the best teams are now with the SEC going to a 9-game in-league schedule. Mm-hmm. Because somebody else is going to play Texas and somebody else is going to play Georgia that wasn't playing them before. So we could see, and if they extend to 16 or even 24 teams, we could see 8 and 5 teams in playoffs. So fans are going to have to they're going to want their coach fired as he's going to the first round of the playoffs, because that's just there and it's real as we look at it. So number one, I think we've got 12 teams next year. We should find out who are the best 12. Take James Madison and take Tulane out. Let Power 6 have their own national championship tournament. Let them go compete at a high level. Be fun to watch. Be really fun to watch. And it's apples against apples. So very few kids got drafted from Group of 6. The coaches that were winning left Group of 6 jobs to go to Power 4 jobs. So it's not conducive anymore for a team without money that's going to lose all their players and their coach to compete in a national championship playoff. It just doesn't work. So let's let them have their own. And then we can take some money and give it to them, but let's don't keep scheduling Group of 6 against Power 4. Let them play each other. Then we can figure out strength of schedule. Make it matter. If you're going to play Ohio State next year, the second game at Texas, make that game matter. If you lose it, it hurts you, but not as much as you gain if you win it. And then you just start looking from there at who the best 12 teams are. And you've got 14 in the NFL. You've got 24 in the playoffs with the FCS. So in the NFL, it's becoming more like what's happening in college football. If you have 16, you had 14 there, you play your division champs. That means you play your conference champs. And then Steve Sarkisian even said you kind of play a playoff in your own league, and then that playoff, the winners of those playoffs in those leagues go to the next step and go forward. And then I'd like to see us incorporate the bowl game. So if Clemson comes to Texas next year in the first round of the playoff, make that the Peach Bowl. Make that the Citrus Bowl. Bring the kids in a little bit early. Have it where they have a little fun. You can still have the bowl. Maybe even when we were at North Carolina the first time, we played USC in Anaheim in a preseason bowl, Pigskin Classic. Coach Robinson was just coming back to USC. It was a great week, really fun, and a great game. Maybe we stack some of the bowl games at the front end. and get some really good matchups for college football fans, and then let that count toward the strength of schedule. Because if we don't define strength of schedule, athletics directors are going to have to quit playing really good teams from other conferences, and then fans and players are going to lose opportunities to see great games. But we can't keep doing it unless we have a very clear, defined message of what that's going to give you.
Mac, when you talk about the G6, I know I've heard that. You've mentioned it to us before. You're not saying, though, get rid of the non-conference G6 games, right? Because isn't that how some of them survive?
Well, if we do, David, because we're trying to find the best teams, we're
Sure.
looking at strength of schedule,
Sure.
then you take all this playoff money. If we're playing 16, we're playing 24, there's going to be a lot of money. And then you distribute the money properly throughout the game to help these schools that right now don't have any money. So if Tulane doesn't have the playoff money, give the pool of playoff money to those that are winning in the group of 6. Divide it up. There's plenty of money, and we need to make it fair.
So, Coach, as far as his comment, and I know that he's you've pointed out, and we've talked about what his intention was with it, but I think the depth thing was interesting because I don't agree with him that the 2s and 3s would just go undefeated in the Big 12, because Kirby Smart had made the comment just a couple of months ago on a different show about how his Georgia teams from like 5 or 6 years ago would just crush some of the teams that are the best teams nowadays because the depth is so different. How different is it from your estimation when you see even the best teams now versus what you had at Texas, where you could just kind of stow away and develop guys? Just how drastically different is that from 5-10 years ago, you think?
Well, it's drastically different. And again, I think Steve was tongue-in-cheek taking a shot, not at Joy, but he was taking a shot at the college football playoff. Right. I mean, that was... And sometimes, like we said, you get at those luncheons and you're tired and you've got your phone ringing and the agents are calling and you're looking around trying to manage stuff, and then some guy in the back asks a question and you're really not prepared for it, and you kind of get that. We all got a little smart aleck in us. Oh yeah, no, and then you probably wish you hadn't said that, but. I do feel like that the depth now is tougher to maintain than ever before because of the amount of money. At North Carolina, we had $4 million, and we were losing second-team players that would go for more money to start at other places, where at Texas, before all the NIL stuff, all those guys wanted to stay. And we'd win by enough games, the guys would get to play, and then they'd have their turn. And right now, it's just not happening. And also, it's tougher for schools right now to be patient enough to wait on offensive linemen. Those guys usually played in their third year. And now they're being bought after their first year, unless they're starting. So you don't have that buildup over time where your offensive line can get better. And if you're short, you're signing 24-year-old offensive linemen like Indiana, rather than bringing in a high school guy, because Indiana had the oldest team in college football. They were older than some NFL guys. So if you ask Kirk Cignetti, and he's absolutely right, I'm sure he would say, am I going to take an 18-year-old offensive lineman or a 24-year-old offensive lineman, and which one's going to be more mature, which one's going to be stronger, which one's going to be tougher, and who's going to compete better for me this year? It's not in question.
Yeah.
It's not in question.
Yeah, and you're right. Just seasoned, almost like bark or a tree that has all the lines around, the circles around it. Mac, in 2005, when you won the national title with the dramatic ending against Southern Cal, and you played Ohio State in Columbus, and you had the huge win. Lima Swede made the catch, an unbelievable moment. Did that game set you up to play for the national championship? It's different now. Back then, you didn't have the playoff. You had, BCS, I think it was. Did that game set you up? Was that the one that launched you?
Yes, we had struggled with Oklahoma. So after that game, David, then we needed to beat Oklahoma. And basically, those were the 2 games that were in the way. And walking out of that stadium that night, I thought Ohio State was the other best team. There were 3 of us. And at that time, that's what I was thinking. And when we beat Ohio State, I said, okay, now there's 2. And we had to get through Oklahoma. After Oklahoma, we were so good, and we beat Oklahoma handedly. And I never forget, Sally came home on Sunday with a Rose Bowl T-shirt. And I said, Jesus Christ, we're halfway through the season. My wife is wearing a T-shirt looking ahead. So here's what I thought. I said, okay, let's play the game. Players know we're good. Fans know we're good. We know we're good. So let's don't hide it. So every week after that, so let's say we're playing Oklahoma State the week after Oklahoma, we're going to get ready for Oklahoma State. We're going to play the game. We're going to review the video on Sunday. We're going to put up the stats and say, here's why we won the game. And then we're going to take USC's stats against Washington, and we're going to put their stats up against our stats and see if we beat USC that week. And we did that from midseason till the national championship game. So we actually compared ourselves every week to the standard that was take dead aim at the national championship and beating USC. So after one game, we're in the dressing room, and it's the Bush push, and Notre Dame's about to beat USC. And then Reggie Bush pushes Leinart in. Our whole team is locked into the TV after we've won a game, and they start screaming. So I called them up, and I said, what are you doing? They said, Coach, we want to play USC, and we want them to be number 1. We want to beat the best team in the country and be the best team in the country. So we couldn't hide it, guys. So we just said, all right, this is real. We got to be mature. Let's handle it, and let's move forward. And that's when we said take dead aim at USC every week. But you're not playing Colorado. You're playing USC every week. That's the standard. You're playing the standard. You're not playing a game. So if we won the game and didn't beat USC standard, we lost the game. Mm-hmm. And it was that way for half the year.
So, Coach, when we were talking a little bit earlier about another, I think it was the Georgia president coming out and saying, nobody's following the rules. We say we went with the rules. Nobody follows the rules. So there's this College Sports Commission. They've got these rules everybody's agreed to. We've already seen lawsuits of like Nebraska's trying to get around and say, no, we want to cut this third-party deal. And there's just this constant back and forth. The question is, everybody says they want rules. Do you truly believe that coaches and schools want rules? And how can you go about ensuring that they actually follow them? I know that there are penalties that are supposed to be in play for the CSC, and I suppose they just haven't got to that point yet. But aren't the schools like their own worst enemies in regards to actually doing what they say they want to do, which is follow rules?
You've got both. You've got some people who are win at all cost, and they don't believe the rules are important. They think they're not enforceable, which is probably the truth right now. So they just go. And then you've got some coaches that really care about what's right, and they want to do everything right. And I had a friend of mine about a month ago that's a great person with true integrity that said, it's harder for guys to go by the rules and not tamper and have a chance to win. Harder than ever before. So I think what most coaches are frustrated with is we don't have a clear-cut group of rules and regulations that we can go by. What is tampering? Clemson calls out Ole Miss. So far, nothing's been done.
Not a thing. Yeah.
So Ole Miss has got a great player. So the Ole Miss fans are probably happy that they got the player. So that's where it got really, really difficult for me, guys, is I wanted to do everything right. I wanted to go by the rules, and I'm not sure that's the easiest way to win right now for sure.
Mac, were you ever starstruck at any time as a player or as an assistant coach, or when you became a head coach in college?
Yes, I was starstruck with Coach Bryant during recruiting. And I loved older coaches that had been there. I loved Coach Royal. He became like an older brother to me. I loved sitting down and talking to Bo Schembechler. I would go on the Nike trip with Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden, and I wouldn't leave their side. Mm. And they were so different, but so successful. And I realized I had to pull everything out of them I could get that fit me. I couldn't be either one of them. I love John Robinson. The week we played in that preseason game, I spent the whole week because I grew up watching O.J. Simpson and Coach McKay, and I had dinner with Coach McKay one night, John McKay, the USC coach, when he was at Tampa, and I was just starstruck. I couldn't believe it. And he was saying, yeah, Coach, your tailback's good. And I said, oh, my gosh, he knows who I am. He knows Natron means. Can you imagine? He said, yeah, I like the way you run your sweep. I said, it's the way you run your sweep. That's what we did. I took your sweep. No wonder you like it. So yeah, it's one of the things I'm really enjoying now for the younger coaches to call me and ask. And if they call me and ask, I never had an older coach not return my call immediately and help me. I remember asking Lou Holtz once, and he it was probably about changing jobs or moving, and we just lost Coach Holtz, and we lost a great man. Coach told me that 5 years is long enough at a school, 7's too many, and 10's eternity. So he said, boy, you've been long enough. Get out before they fire you. So Coach Schembeckler, I'm at dinner with him. He was doing ABC. It was before a game in North Carolina. And I said, Coach, how do you make decisions in the end? How do you recruit? You got 12 guys left on your list. You only have 4 scholarships. How do you figure out which one to take? He said, oh, it's easy. He said, they're all good enough or you wouldn't have them on your list. They're all smart enough. They're academically eligible. You wouldn't have them on the list. Take the ones you like. They're going to like you. And in the fourth quarter, if they don't like you, man, they're not going to play for you. You need them to fight your guts out in that fourth quarter. So take the ones you like. He said, same thing with staff. Don't hire anybody you don't like. Because you got to spend all day with them. You'll be miserable and they'll be miserable and they're not going to like you either. And then I remember at Oklahoma, I was the offensive coordinator, and Coach Broyles was doing the game. And he and Coach Switzer were buddies. Of course, Coach Switzer played for him. And Coach Broyles said, what kind of team you got, Coach? And I said, I don't know. How do you tell? And he said, oh, it's really easy. At that time, we were playing 11 games. He said, if your players are better than 7 teams on your schedule, you're going to have a good season. Because you're probably only going to play at the peak of emotion 4 times. And the other 7, you got to figure out how to win. So if you're not even better than they are, you're going to split those 7. So if you've got 7 wins that you're better than, and regardless of how you play, you can say you're going to get them, then you're going to have a great year because you got 4 games you got to win. So these guys just oozed with knowledge. I mean, Coach Roll would see a fast player, and he'd say, yep, like a puff of smoke, man, you can't catch him. And he'd start grabbing at that smoke in the air. So just so fun to listen to those guys and be around them.
And so they gave back to you and imparted some wisdom, and now you're doing that, right, in a lot of ways. And I saw the headline knowing we were going to have you on, that you and Pete Carroll are going to be back on the sidelines. The Adidas Polynesian Bowl coming up next January. I saw that announcement out there in Honolulu. And as it says in the release, the first meeting between Brown and Carroll since the epic 2006 BCS National Championship game. I wanted to bring that up. You're leading, it looks like, Team Mauka, which is the Hawaiian word for mountain, and he's got Team Makai, which means ocean. So how did this all come together, and how cool is this that this is all getting set up? I think this is pretty awesome.
Well, I'm a mountain boy. I'm from Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Pete's from L.A. He's Southern California, so he's a beach guy. So that fits without question. No, it was the Polynesian heritage is so cool. It's such a pride group of people, and I've watched these kids and been around them and pull for them for years. Pete coached a lot more of the Polynesian kids at USC than we did at Texas or North Carolina, obviously. But when I was asked, number one, Sally loves Hawaii, so that was easy sell. And number two, I want to be around those young kids because they all have their hopes and their goals and their dreams. And Pete and I have seen a lot of players, and we've been in a lot of homes in recruiting, and all these are high school kids. Mm-hmm. So what we can do, hopefully, is give them some thoughts to them and their parents on what's going to help them improve their brand now and improve their opportunities for scholarships and have a chance to move forward. So it's just another chance to give back.
That's awesome that you get to do that. And you know, as a coach, we see these committees, the presidential, all these committees. Are there enough coaches in the committees that actually will like say, hey, guys, you have to listen to us? And are there enough? I know there's not enough athletes, but are there enough coaches in these committees that actually would understand what would be best and people would listen to you?
David, I've always been concerned with the oversight committee in the NCAA because there's only a couple of coaches on it of the 31 members. So your vote didn't matter. When Coach Taft was head of the AFCA was powerful. He had some people in the NCAA that would listen. So we got the 10th coach. We got things done. And it was interesting. We even proposed at one point 26 staff members, and now some people have 150. So it's amazing how that's gotten out of control as we go through. I am on the presidential committee to Save College Sports, and there's three of us, Nick Saban and Urban Meyer and I. And I think the biggest thing is that people quit listening to coaches. And this committee's a big committee. We're basically looking at the rules stuff, and it's really a good committee, and they're working hard, and I can't give conversation to what we've done because it is confidential, but I do think it just has a chance to make a difference. But the biggest difference right now, David, is that we have to get some antitrust for the NCAA or for the committees so people can't just sue and overturn. When I was at North Carolina, we had a young man named Tez Walker. He was a great receiver. He, long story, I'll make it quick as I can here. He went to North Carolina Central, COVID hits. He doesn't get to play. He goes to Kent State, plays 2 years, then wants to transfer home to Charlotte, sick grandmother, never seen him play. So we feel like that's an easy sell. NCAA says it's a 2-time transfer, even though he didn't play the first time. We thought it should be a 1-time transfer because he didn't play at Central. He only played at Kent State. His head coach left, his offensive coordinator left, his receiver coach left, his quarterback left, and 10 starters. So he wants to be a pro player. So we thought that was a no-brainer. Well, they turned him down 3 times in the NCAA. We went to the Attorney General, Josh Stein, who's now the governor of North Carolina, and he said, we're going to sue you unless you let the kid play. Well, they got mad at me, but they let him play. But because that rule was overturned, it's probably really hurt the NCAA now that anytime something comes up, attorney generals are suing them to overrule it. So one of the things our committee is fighting hard to do is get antitrust. So when a decision is made, just like this transfer rule, if you have a 1-time transfer for undergraduates without penalty, and then you have to graduate to have another transfer, and you start either at the end of your high school career with your 5 years, or you start when you're 19, unless there's antitrust, everybody's going to sue and overturn that. And it won't be any good. But with fewer transfers, you're going to help high school players because coaches won't be as they won't be able to get a transfer in so easily that they won't take a high school guy. So that could go back and help high school kids get recruited more, and that'll help. And with fewer guys in the transfer portal, you're going to have less tampering because when a guy can make a lot more money, he's going to jump in the portal. And if you only get 1 time in the portal, then he's not going to be able to readily jump as much. So my point being is that we do need coaches' input, but now we've also got to get Congress to try to be bipartisan here and quit worrying about what party you're from and try to do what's best for college sports so we can get back on track.
It doesn't seem they want to help.
Congress?
Yeah. It just seemed like, and I know you got to go, and we do appreciate your time, but it just seems like it just always right before the finish line, they trip and fall, whether it's the NCAA, the coaches, whoever, or it just doesn't seem to work.
I think everybody wants it to work, but we've got to take politics out of it. And I've never been political. You can't be political and be a coach. So I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. My granddad said half of them are mad at you before you start. If you pick a political party, that other half is going to be mad at you and you'll get fired faster than ever. So he said, keep your mouth shut and stay out of politics, which I've done. But we need to try to put politics aside and get back to what's best, because the NCAA doesn't have strength if they can be sued for everything. It doesn't matter what they rule, they'll be sued. And that's not going to work. So we've all got to look at, sometimes the bigger problem you have, the more readily you get things fixed. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that things are so bad right now in a lot of areas, a lot of good things. Kids are getting paid, and that's good. We're a little out of control. Kids can transfer. Joe Burrow, that's good. We're out of control. So what we didn't think about consequences, and that's where we have to be careful with this playoff system. We haven't even gotten straight with the 12, so how are we going to go to 24 until we know what we're doing with 12?
Yep.
And what does that do to the number of games in the year? What does that do to buys? What does that do to when we start? What does that do to championship games? Let's get a plan. So if we can all sit down, take a deep breath, and come up for a plan that's best for everybody, we're going to have this thing back on track and rolling well, and people are loving the playoffs, and college football will be stronger than ever.
Mac, thank you. Somebody in the chat asked about you and I. First time I ever met you was at Garden Valley Country Club at a golf tournament. You had just been hired at Texas X's golf tournament, sat down in the patio. You sat down with me for a lengthy interview, and you've always been available. Appreciate you. Hopefully we'll get you on again right before football season. Go enjoy the mountains. And we thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Well, thank you, David. And I appreciate what you guys do. You're honest, and for the first time in my life, I can do something outside of coach speak.
Yeah.
I can actually say what I think now without anybody caring. So that's, I can't get fired, and a high school coach can't get mad at me. Mom can't get mad at me. Back out on recruiting. So I'm good.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Enjoy your spring.
Thank
Matt
you.
Brown, Hall of Fame football coach, with us on the Smoke Show in 365 Sports. We appreciate his time. He has a podcast with Vince Young and Bob Ballou, I think it is, that he does quite a bit with many things college football. All right, Rez Michelangelo Flores, what a day it's been for you. You've done incredibly well, and let's spin the wheel. It always just ding.
Which college football coach is the biggest mastermind in 2026 and probably the most feared in their knowledge of the game? Man, I don't feel like there's really any guys who are like superior X's and O's types of guys these days, where like I think there's certain coaching matchups that if you put guys together, I'd say that guy can X and O the hell out of that other guy. But I don't feel like there's somebody that's just like the clear cut. There's no like Saban's here and then everybody else is like starting here. I feel like everybody's just here now. Or there's a top group and it's a bunch of different dudes who are all pretty similar for the most part. I don't think there's a Saban that stands out.
You know, when it comes, it's offense and defense for some. Obviously, what Sark does offensively, although that's not perfect, what he's become. Kirby Smart, I think, does a great job managing the entire football team. We know he's a defensive, know-it-all, right? Not that he wouldn't say that. But I think he does a great job of motivating his team and giving them something to find that maybe gives them an edge when they might be as good as anybody. A chip on the shoulder type advantage.
Yeah, I think Kirby Smart's a really good coach. I don't know that there's anything that's like feared as far as his knowledge of the game goes. So I actually will change my opinion. I think it's Kurt Cignetti. I think it's Kurt Cignetti because if he can roll in and do what he did the way that he did it at Indiana, and if this guy truly has the blueprint that he can just copy and paste the talent, so long as the talent's about the same and his system just works, then I think like that might be the guy, because he's just figured out how it's supposed to work and he can make it work at JMU, at Indiana, wherever.
Keilani, Cignetti has the potential to be an overlooked mastermind. So, and then a couple of people also, Paxton and others mentioned Randy Duffy, Cignetti, Kirby Smart's name was mentioned, but I think Kirby Smart's just a damn good football coach. And where Saban, you could be intimidated before you even hit the week that you're practicing.
Well, I mean, all the best coaches out now were coached under him.
We're with him,
So
Cignetti, Kirby Smart, Sarkisian,
me and Keelani, seeing eye to eye, and anybody else who mentioned Cignetti, I had to think about it for a second. But the more you think about it, it's like, well, gosh, if they're really good again this year after losing what they lost, then maybe he's just figured it out. Like he's just figured out the system that's going to work no matter what, basically. So, yeah, I think it would be him.
Couple of super chats to get to today. One from retired stockbroker, Cougar High at the glorified community college. That's it. And retired. He's a University of Houston letter winner. That's something that you've seen a little bit of that they're trying to get away from the community college. And Kelvin Sampson's talked about that and others. And it's something that's like a stigma in certain ways. I hate it. I hate that when you have that kind of stigma, but I think Houston's done very well for themselves since they joined the Big 12. And I know that some people kind of poo-pooed that when their name came up, and they have fit it right in.
Is that what he's saying, though? Like, I'm trying to understand exactly. I know they play Tech on the 19th. So I didn't know if it was referring to that potentially because
it's Houston at Tech, the glorified community college. I don't know if you saw this or not.
I guess I didn't.
Oh my God, who was it?
Yeah, I guess
Tom Brady.
Oh, okay, the Tom Brady thing.
I thought somebody told me that the Brady speech, the graduation speech, was AI, but he was talking about West. No, was it Wes Welker? No, Edelman. No, it wasn't Edelman.
It wouldn't have been Edelman.
I guess it might have been Welker.
Is Danny Amendola. That's why Google is.
Amendola from the Woodlands High School. Yes, that's right.
Okay, in a commencement speech at Georgetown, he had a playful jab talking about Danny Amendola. During the speech, Danny went undrafted out of Texas Tech. He was cut by 3 NFL teams. He wasn't the tallest. He wasn't the fastest, but he had a huge heart. And I hope you guys find colleagues like Danny. Having business school friends is great. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes you need a kid from a glorified community college who can bail you out of any jam. So, yeah, it took me a second. My wires were not connected fully, but yes, now I understand stockbroker. So thank you for the 365 there. Do appreciate that. And yeah, I think the game is, I guess maybe the schedule I looked at wasn't updated just yet. So maybe that's needing to be updated, but either way, that's a fun way to look at it. And Tom Brady, man, he's been talking a lot of trash all over the place about a lot of things.
He can get under your skin. You could imagine what he was doing like out on the field and in practice or whatever.
The schedule on ESPN's not updated, so that is right. That is 9/18.
That's the Friday night game.
Yep. It still says 19th on the other schedule page that I looked at. So now it all makes sense. Sorry we had to run a mile to get to what you were getting at there.
Retired stockbroker, thank you very much. I think I just saw where he was driving to Houston for some sort of an event. Here is the other one from Kim Coulter. Mac Brown was outstanding today, and you're right. That it's a great thing to be able to get him on the 3 or 4 times a year we do.
Yeah, thank you, Kim, as always, as well. And I know Kim's proud of his glorified community college and probably – geared up for that game against Cougar High. So that's going to be a lot of fun when we get around to that here in the next 2 or 3 months and we get into actually the week of that game, because I think that's going to be a really fun thing to talk about that early in the season especially. But yeah, Mac, I of course have said all along I'm an Oklahoma fan. So he was on Oklahoma staff actually before he ever went to Texas for a brief period. But of course, he was the guy that I mostly knew as the head coach of Texas, battling Bob Stoops. So I was a Stoops guy.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But as the years went by, and outside of just your rivalry and all that, like I have nothing but respect for Mac Brown, and I think he's an incredible coach and an ambassador for the game, and is definitely one of those guys you say like who could be the commissioner, who could be that type of person. Yeah, Mac Brown would be one of those along with Saban and whoever else.
I agree. So last week, Ole Miss took some strays, right? Shrapnel, Ryan Duffy. Taking strays from Tom Brady and Sark in the same day, although Brady's was over the weekend, makes me feel like Texas Tech has arrived.
I mean, yeah, I'd rather be mentioned than not mentioned. It's one of those things like clearly you've carved out some part of their brains where they're feeling the need to say something about it. And if Tech was 0-12 for the last 5 years over, I don't think Tom Brady, he'd probably still be taking a dig at Danny Amendola. He'd just probably go about it a different way or something. But yeah, Sark certainly, I think there's bigger points he's trying to make, like Mac was also talking about, and we understand that, but it's also, we're still not going to not talk about what you said when you take a shot like that.
No.
Even though we know what you're getting at is about the strength of schedule discussion. But yeah, I think it's been fun couple days just seeing all the kind of trash talk going back and forth. And I do think Sark has lost his fair share of battles here recently to Texas Tech for some big recruits. And I'm sure that is playing into some of his thoughts towards them as well.
Well, one of the things about certain programs, they can lose battles to even teams that they feel like they shouldn't. And Tech has arrived, no question, when it comes to that part of it. They're going to get somebody else. They'll just take somebody else's like really good recruit or win a battle against other teams as well. So,
well, you can do that, but if you're losing the 5-star guy, you don't just turn around and go get another 5-star guy.
There's no question. There's a reason why there have been some jabs and maybe even some low blows. Now, let's get to the quizzes today. Let's go 2-0. And the first one from Andrew Valade on August 29th of 1966. The Beatles played the final ticketed public concert of their legendary career. Which iconic American sports venue hosted this historic farewell? Now, I do know we had Dodger Stadium as something before, but I don't think this is Dodger Stadium.
No, I think it is Candlestick Park. And the reason why is I remember I can't remember if it coincided, but there was a period here in the last couple of years where I got very into like the 60s era of rock and roll and just not only the music, but like a lot of the stories behind them. And I remember reading about the Beatles at Candlestick Park, and it's their last big concert. And I'm trying to remember and not get it confused with what was the concert where there was the big riot back in the 60s. It was in like the San Francisco, like Altamont.
Woodstock?
It's not Woodstock. God, I'm asking you a pop culture question. Of course I'm not going to. It's Altamont. And I think it was in somewhere in reading about that or whatever that I came across the part about the Beatles and so on and so forth. So
Candlestick Park is the answer in San Francisco. The answer is Candlestick Park in San Francisco. It's cold as hell when people played there, football or also in baseball. Craig, you read that one out.
While their 1965 show in New York Shea Stadium pioneered stadium rock, the band's touring days ended at Candlestick Park. Fatigued by screaming crowds and safety threats, like that was part of, the safety threats like I was mentioning with Altamont. The Fab Four played a 33-minute set to a partially empty stadium, selling only 25 of 42,500 seats before retiring from the road to become a full-time studio band. Then, in my 1960s education and deep dives and all that, the Beatles were a heavy part of a lot of that time period and influence and all that as well. So,
all right,
there you go.
1-0. Now, let's try to sweep the quizzes today. NBA superstar Victor Wembanyama, who was unbelievable in Game 1, underwent a secretive offseason training retreat last summer. Which remote location hosted the intense physical and mental program?
I don't know if this is right or not, but I believe it's Shaolin, China, because I believe he may or may not have talked to the monks, and that's the one I'm going to go with.
You know what? I saw this like 2 or 3 days ago, but I did not read really the details. I just saw, man, he's taking himself like through some tremendous workouts. Let's just go with China. There you go.
Wemby spent nearly 2 weeks at the historic Shaolin Temple in Henan Province to prep his body for the NBA grind. 7-4 center trained with 34th generation warrior monks. Ran mountain trails, even completed a dangerous night hike in total darkness, all while sleeping on 3 twin beds pushed together to fit his massive frame. So, I knew I'd seen that at some point, and so I'm glad to have tucked away that little bit of knowledge to answer that question today. But I can imagine for a guy like him, just how brutal it must be. Accommodations for especially something like this where it's very minimal. You're not getting the super California king bed or whatever in your suite at the Marriott or something. You're in the monk's temple or what have you. So 3 mattresses pushed together. He seems like a dude though. I wouldn't complain about it, and it seems like a just really likable guy and obviously an incredible basketball
41 in game one, the win against OKC. OKC flexed their muscles last night. Usually when a team's going to get an upset in a series, it's usually game one for whatever reason over history. All right, 2-0. Let's get to the poll results from our audience. You, the viewers, and how many regular season wins will Dion and his Buffaloes pull off this year?
Well, my official prediction is out there. My official on the record prediction that stands unless I don't even want to say something horrible were to happen. As much as we know now, I don't plan on anything changing that would change my record opinion. So I'm in that 3 to 4 win category. You can go check out how I got there. I take you game by game. It's not like a super deep dive either. It's 10-ish minutes, maybe 15 at most, just rattling through. It's not some super deep dive. It's just going game by game, going, I think they, that kind of deal. And so I have them in the 3 to 4 wins. I can see the 0-2 wins or the 0-2 wins. I can see that path. I have a impossible time seeing the 7 and the 5 and 6. I think that's possible. I think they brought in some intriguing guys, and Brendan Marion's offense and the receivers that they have through the portal, guys like Danny Scudero and now I'm going to blank on a couple of them, but they're on the video. I think they've got a chance to be better than expected, but they've had so much turnover. So much turnover, bunch of the assistants, both coordinators, a bunch of players. It's just like I said, it's impossible to know, really. It's impossible to say with any sort of certainty, but I'm going 3 to 4 wins.
I said 5 or 6 just because, maybe, again, they're going to have to be better than a lot of people think, but I said 5 or 6. We'll see if they get to that point. And Dion and Colorado, what would be year 3?
It's year 4.
Year 4, yeah. All right, it's flown by after that dramatic start where they won a game or two early his first year. All right, and the other poll question, who are you backing to hoist Lord's Stanley Cup?
I got a lot of Avalanche fans in here, apparently. I don't really have somebody I'm backing. And I can't root for if this is who I think will win, then I think I'd probably say the Avalanche based on all that I actually do know, but I'm definitely not rooting or backing them to hoist the Stanley Cup. So I'd be kind of fine with seeing the Canadiens win it. I've seen everything else happen at this point, and I'm not in this US-Canada turf war still like we were during Three Nations. It is, though, kind of fun to see that drought continue on. So part of me, the devil on one shoulder says, no, let the Canadians continue to suffer. And then the angel on my shoulder is like, no, man, Montreal really needs this cup. I think historically that would be the coolest outcome, would be Montreal winning. But the funnest, from an American point of view, would be one of the other 3 winning.
I don't even know. I know I mentioned that note about Carolina, 11 consecutive days without playing. I'm not sure who had the best record this year. I know that Colorado, the Avalanche, are strong as they can be. And Vegas just won in that series, game 1. All right. By the way, one note. This is stunning news that Kyle Busch, the NASCAR icon, died at the age of 41, 2-time Cup Series champion. A lot of people have been bringing that up. A lot of you have discussed it in the chat room. Died at the age of 41. Was hospitalized as a result of a severe illness. Earlier, that was mentioned. And so thoughts and prayers to NASCAR, to Kyle Busch and his family.
Yes, very stunning news. And I think a lot of NASCAR fans in shock. I'm not somebody who would consider myself a NASCAR fan per se, but I'm fully aware of Kyle Busch and his star status and his accomplishments and all of those things. And regardless of the name recognition or what have you, the fact that he is a very recognizable name makes this just like a double whammy. But somebody suddenly passing without much warning at an age like 41 is very, very sad and abrupt and scary. And I'm interested to see the details when they come out, because it does seem like something went wrong and this happened pretty quickly. So just awful stuff. And like you said, just prayers out to his family, his fans, and all those affected. It's just terrible. 234
career wins over the 3 different national type series. All right. Sad news, and wanted to bring that up because there was discussion about it in the chat. Thanks to Andrew Valade. Thanks to Logan Bagessi, Rez, Michelangelo Flores. Thank you very much, sir. And Garrett Ross. We appreciate Houston Hall. Craig, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Try to put your phone away the rest of the night. Just see how you can handle it. You probably will feel a lot better by the time you go to sleep, whenever that might be. I'm David Smoak for Craig Smoak and 365 Sports. We'll see you tomorrow at 3. This has been The Smoak Show.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.